Hey yo everybody, what's up? Tom here, back at you with another video. We're returned to monkey. With no vowels. Because I'm a monk. So I'm returned to monkey. Very, very clever. I give myself 2 thumbs up for that one. I'm trying to think if I should play something. Is there anything good on YouTube? I mean, everything's about Charlie Kirk. Not really interested in talking about that. I mean, I think it was horrible what happened. But I don't feel bad. Alright, let's watch this Destiny video. I'm probably going to agree with Destiny.
Why aren't the American people allowed to know? Just like, can we find out what category they were in? Were they a farmer? Were they a banker? What were they?
Maybe they happened to be in New York City at the time doing other spy operations.
Maybe there just happened to be some Jews visiting Brooklyn. I guess. That changes things. Now we've got Jews taking pictures of the World Trade Center, and they have cash and passports.
If you work in politics or media in any way, shape, or form, if you question them, you would immediately be fired. You would be labeled a kook, a conspiracy.
Good! There are some things that are so f***ing retarded that if you haven't done any research, any homework, any effort, yeah, you should be ostracized and shunned and kicked out. Your job is to give answers. You're a journalist. You don't just ask questions on air with no, that's what retards do.
I think he's telling the truth.
You think that Trump was an FBI informant?
Yes, I do.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think that?
Number one, that's a super weird thing to make up. You don't just slip up and go, oh yeah, you know, John Idarola is a CIA agent. You're like, wait, what? Why would that even pop into your head?
No, come on. If we're being honest, Mike was just reaching for words to sound good. He's like, oh, this guy told on Epstein to the FBI and stuff. He was an FBI informant.
I don't think I'm mistaken in noticing a change in you, to be quite frank, and it's a change that I personally like. There's a certain seriousness and maturity in the way.
This is the Jewish space laser lady. Oh.
The official story on 9/11 is a complete lie. The 9/11 report is a joke.
You have the CIA following
I think I'm gonna
2
feel
men
bad
all over the planet,
so much
and eventually even to America, right? And you don't tell the FBI. 9/11 Commission, cover up.
So what did happen? What did the government know? What did foreign governments know? There was a cover-up. Why? It's been nearly... What did foreign
Why'd they show that guy?
governments know? There was a cover-up. Why? It's been nearly 25 years. It is time Americans learned what actually happened. We're going to tell you. We're releasing 1 episode per week. You're not going to want to wait. If you're a member, you don't have to. Did the government know?
Am I having a faceplant moment, or is this is Netanyahu, right? Why, okay.
Netanyahu.
Why is it just because we hate Israel? Why is he wasn't even the prime minister when 9/11 happened? No, I don't even know what his position in government was.
Governments know. There was a cover-up.
Just because he's the most recognizable Israel guy?
You get all 5 episodes the day it drops, right then, ad-free. Our first episode airs Thursday, 9/11, September 11th. You will not want to miss it. Join us now at tuckercarlson.com.
All right, well, that trailer and this docu-series that's coming up on the Tucker Carlson
Docu-series.
network is getting a lot of attention, so much so that Piers Morgan interviewed him today just to ask some questions and to challenge what many believe are simply crazy conspiracy theories among conspiracy theorists in regard to what took place on 9/11. I don't know what I personally believe. Obviously, this hasn't been published yet, but I thought that this conversation, this exchange...
Why are you
Spoiler alert,
trusting,
she's going to agree with
Why are you trusting Tucker Carlson before the movie even comes out? What has Tucker Carlson done to earn your trust?
every single thing Tucker Carlson says.
Exchange between Piers Morgan and Tucker Carlson was fascinating, and we're going to just give you a few highlights. Please watch the entire conversation for yourselves. But before I get into it, Cenk, any initial thoughts?
Well, before I never entertained the idea that 9/11 was anything but what the government said. And so I was like, what, did they make the planes disappear? They get willing to kill everybody on the planes. It all sounds absurd. So I now think that I have seen the government do so many terrible things repeatedly and cover up for it repeatedly, then I am no longer sure. And when you see things like World Trade Center 7,
Building 7, the big meme. What happened to that? What happened to Building 7, guys?
World Trade Center 7, a building across the street, apparently was so hot that the steel inside the building melted from across the street. But the government found Mohammed Atta's paper passport conveniently on top of the rubble.
Like, this is one of those talking points that got brought up a lot. Honestly, I thought this was, like, kind of weird. Really? His passport? But then, as part of our research on that one thing, I mean, it's paper. It's not like it plummets to the ground. Apparently, it's really common at crash sites that you find people's IDs, wallets, passports. Like, that's just a really common phenomenon. I didn't know that until studying the 9/11 show, that actually happens, like, pretty frequently.
Yeah, there's
things that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I know the answer, but I'm beginning to come to some conclusions about what is not the answer.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at as well, right? I'm not running around saying 9/11 was an inside job. I don't.
Wow. Tucker Carlson released a commercial for a docuseries that he's producing where he said 9/11 was an inside job. And now you're just not sure about what you think about it anymore. You used to be pretty sure it wasn't an inside job based on the evidence. But now this commercial for a Tucker Carlson documentary has you questioning.
I don't know, but I do know.
She did do the Dancing Israelis meme already on Twitter, though.
That there are some serious issues with what the, accepted narrative is. And in fact, they're about to get into an exchange in regard to Building 7. So let's go to the first clip.
Huge parts of the 9/11 story were left out of the commission report. For example, what happened to Building 7, which was not only not next to the Twin Towers, which were hit by airplanes, but had a building in between itself and those buildings, collapsed that afternoon for reasons that no one has been able to explain since.
It was massively on fire. The whole inside of the building was. I always like how people will ask these questions that they come off as like kind of like a truism thing, where it's like obviously the answer is obvious, but it's like, is it? People's like, well, like, would you really expect a building that's on fire, that's made of steel, would you really expect that building to collapse? And it's like, well, I guess not. But then it's like, well, actually, I don't know. I've never seen a full-ass, huge-ass building on fire before when two other buildings were hit with fire. I don't know the answer to that. I don't even know if I can intuit the answer to that. This is a massive thing that we're talking about here. I don't know if it's the same as like Lego blocks.
Since you're not a lunatic for asking, there's no plausible explanation for how the building collapsed.
So that's the issue at play here, that I wanted to give you that portion of what Tucker Carlson had to say. And Piers Morgan attempts to explain it to some extent by providing what he feels is a similar example of another building, like just melting away similarly to Building 7. Yeah.
Before we go to that clip, Anna, I just want to say, this story broke today. I didn't know that was going to be the first topic. And for all
this... This is all the same shit from that... documentary, Loose Chain. It wasn't Loose Chain. Zeitgeist. This is just a Zeitgeist movie. These guys never saw Zeitgeist. Oh my god, dude. Don't tell me they didn't see Zeitgeist. They know all of these conspiracies.
The times that I had this conversation with Ben and a million other people, I would always say,
Ben,
look guys, I get everything and I'm not a physicist. I don't know how the plane could hit or couldn't hit,
I call him
could
Ben.
crash or couldn't crash. I got no expertise on that. Just that building that is not anywhere near the other buildings, just melting down. I've never thought that made any sense. And what we should expect from our government is logical answers.
Right.
Not like, whatever, shut up, you're a conspiracy theorist. And you should never get any real answer.
Hold on, I'm sorry, just because I can't let this retarded speak uninterrupted. We'll watch this real quick.
On the evening of September 11, 2001, after the world witnessed the tragic collapse of the World Trade Centers, a nearby building mysteriously...
I don't know where this, it was nowhere nearby. This is like the wet market was 1 mile from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Like, no, it was like 12 kilometers. And also, even 1 mile is kind of far when you're talking about like walking, like you walk by a ton of people in a mile in a huge city. And it was 12 kilometers, okay, not 1 mile. But it's, yeah, it's just like things that...
The WTC-7. How did this almost perfect-looking building collapse? The key to this mystery lies in this video footage. Did you notice a sharp V-shaped dent at the top of the building well before the main collapse? This was the penthouse of WTC-7. Exactly below this dent, you'll be able to observe the 3 main columns of the building. You can conclude that this dent happened simply because these 3 columns collapsed.
Is there a way to unfuck people's minds? It feels like a lot of people are actually saying. The problem is that the mind is working, but it's not a problem with logical thought. There's some political thing that's f***ing it. Because there are so many ways that you could protect yourself from a trap like this. Like, you could just think, okay, hold on. Okay, so there's a terrorist attack against the World Trade Centers, right? Yes. And the U.S. government allowed it to happen. Let's say all that, right? Okay, sure. Why would the terrorists also make Building 7 collapse? Like, what would be the purpose of that? Like, let's assume that let's assume your framing is totally true, that this is nowhere near the World Trade Centers and no planes hit it, and the World Trade Centers were brought down with controlled demolitions, or I guess planes hit it and they were allowed to collapse. Why would they make Building 7 collapse too? For the love of the game? Yeah, like what's your theory on this? But the thing that sucks, and this is the same thing with the lab leakers, there's never an alternate theory. There's never a single alternate theory that they have to defend. It's just a whole bunch of like, what about this? 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 And in any official story, in any factual accounting of a story, there's always going to be a couple facts that might just be hard to account for. There's just like weird shit that happens sometimes. Like, I don't know. Either a guy drove fast, or, you know, a dude tripped 2 times in the same spot, or, you know, like sometimes weird shit happens in life. Weird shit does happen, you know? Destiny, isn't the legit conspiracy that Intel people didn't share information that they should have? I think there was an effort to avoid blame, but it's hella boring compared to holographic Jew planes. Well, but that's not a conspiracy. I think that was pretty well understood. But it wasn't that they were not sharing info because they wanted the American people to die. It's that there was a real problem with coordination between intelligence departments. I think this is why the Department of Homeland Security was created, was to facilitate more interflow of information between these agencies. But it wasn't because they wanted to watch America die and for us to go to war in the Middle East for Israel and Jews and everything.
TC7.
Okay, sorry. Just need to make a quick pit stop there. Okay, back to this.
Real answers.
Right.
Not like, whatever, shut up, you're a conspiracy theorist, and you should never get any real answers. So the reason I interrupted you is because I'm super curious what Piers Morgan's going to say, because I've literally never heard a proper explanation for it.
Like, this is the thing that I don't understand, right? I don't understand. What am I saying? What am I saying right now? Hold on, am I treating this like a serious question when I shouldn't be? Because, like, sometimes I'm curious, like, why things happen, but, like, we have the internet, so I just, like, look it up, right? Back in the day, we had to run to Mr. Britannica and ask him, or, God forbid, Yahoo or Ask Jeeves, or the library. But, like, if you really want to know, 9/11 was, man, 6, 7, 8 years ago, not 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 24 years ago? It was a long time ago. You've had a lot of time. You've had so much time to look up the answer to that question. How have you not a single time watched any video or read anything ever? One time. Ever. Like,
when I believe 9/11 100%.
Well, let's go
the official story.
Let's see what he has to say.
If you look into the investigation into Tower 7, the findings of the investigation into it were that the North Tower, when it came down, had set off a load of fires in Building 7. And it was a steel structure and shouldn't have gone down, but it did. That these fires burned all afternoon, and I think it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something, that the tower eventually gave way to the welter of fires raging inside it. And it was the only time that had happened to a structure that was built in that way. However, there has been another tower very similar to that in structure, which has since gone down in Tehran. So it's no longer the only one. In other words, there is another example of a tower like that collapsing.
Okay, so you can see Tucker Carlson smiling in response to what Piers Morgan is saying, probably because, okay, well, if you want to make that argument that the fire was so hot that it led to the collapse of Building 7, well, what happened to the building in between, right? And nothing happened to that building? And so I want to give Tucker an opportunity.
Well, but all of those buildings were extremely damaged. What do you mean? But they were also probably supporting a lot less weight, right? Because the buildings were significantly...
Also, neither of these guys know anything about it. They're just repeating fucking conspiracy videos that they heard on YouTube. Why are we not talking to an engineer during this conversation?
Be smaller?
Or an
I need
architect?
to respond to that, and then we can discuss.
What is the alternative explanation? I mean, if you're examining another theory, other than the one that the investigation concluded was simply...
Yeah, this is the question. So what is your alternative hypothesis? Give us one.
The North Tower came down, fires were set off in Tower 7, and then it eventually collapsed. What is the other theory which we should give more credence to?
I don't know that the onus is on me or anyone.
Oh my God, this guy. I was gonna say, I don't want to say this in advance, because I don't want to give him any credit. I was gonna say, I'll give him a credit. I'll give him a little bit of credit if he at least gives like a coherent theory on the other end. But yes, the onus is on you now, because there is an official story. It is supported by a ton of evidence. There are some weird things, sure, but there's never gonna be a story that accounts cleanly and neatly, and that every single fact is going to be the most obvious thing to happen every single time. And then if not, you have to, like, justify. I don't even know how you say justify. Like, sometimes there's just weird shit that happens. Like, you have to give an alternative explanation.
One who seeks the truth about what happened to come up with an alternative theory. The onus is on federal authorities to explain why, for example, they never investigated it. Why, for example, the rubble and the steel
They never investigated what?
from that building was carted off within hours and sent out of the country to Asia. Why, for example,
Oh, geez, these are new ones I haven't even heard before.
an analysis done not by kooks, but by chemists found traces of explosive material in the dust from that day. Why structural engineers who have kind of no skin in this game came to the conclusion that that just couldn't happen based on all available evidence, and that none of that is addressed at all or even mentioned in the 9/11 report. So, and there are all kinds of anomalies, as I know that you're fully aware, and there are possible explanations to explain all of them. For example, the BBC report on air saying the building had fallen when it hadn't fallen yet.
He's right about that BBC report, and Pierce later says that the BBC report was based on an erroneous report by Reuters. Okay.
Okay, that does.
Like, think about what you're saying here. You understand what they're implying? They're implying that all the mainstream media companies around the world had already gotten the conspiracy notes and were supposed to be reporting about the falling building with, like, it doesn't even make sense. What are you even positing here? That the BBC was given talking points of the building collapsing ahead of time? Why would they even need those talking points? They can just talk about it collapsing as it collapses. It doesn't even make sense. Like, it's so stupid. This is such a nonsense talking point. Oh, these are some of the untouched buildings. Untouched. Why didn't this one collapse? This is an aerial view. It shows only a small portion of the crime scene where the World Trade Center collapsed. Following this, surrounding buildings were heavily damaged by the debris at massive force. Falling from towers, cleanup efforts were taking for months. Pristine condition. What about this building? What's this one right here? What was this one made out of?
Doesn't explain anything. How did Reuters know the building was going to collapse before it got hit?
Exactly.
Like, what is your alternate explanation? What? Like, don't you have to give something? What do you think? That they were all told ahead of time that it was supposed to collapse?
Yeah.
So look, I don't know.
We don't know. And like, I'm very interested to watch this docuseries and the claims that it makes. I was super young when 9/11 happened.
Why not go watch anything else educational ever? Like, you guys are so airheaded. I'm so curious to watch. Why is it the only shit you'll watch is actual brain rot memes? Why not go watch like an actual documentary? Why not go watch an actual reporter, an actual physicist, or the Popular Mechanics series that went over loose change? Or like, there's a billion videos out there. Like, are we seriously 25 years later thinking like, man, I wish there was anything made about what happened on 9/11? Thank God Tucker Carlson is here to free us from our ignorance. Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, and like, I'm very interested to watch this docuseries and the claims that it makes. I was super young when 9/11 happened. I was in high school, and the thought of, this being a big conspiracy was ridiculous to me. It didn't even cross my mind. I was a child, okay? But revisiting this now, I do have a lot of questions.
Yeah, no, it's over. Look, we're at a seminal moment in American politics and media. Before, there was a whole bucket of things you could not question. The minute you question them, what would happen? Wow, what does that mean you can't question them? You say anything you want in a backyard barbecue, right? But if you work in politics or media in any way, shape, or form, if you question them, you would immediately be fired. You would be labeled a kook, a conspiracy.
Good. There are some things that are so fucking retarded that if you haven't done any research, any homework, any effort, yeah, you should be ostracized and shunned and kicked out. Go to some other fucking island or go to some other place. You're too retarded to be here. There should be a minimum threshold. We should call them thought crimes. That's what we need. We need to bring thought crimes back. If you think retarded thoughts, you're out of here.
Theories and probably some sort of character assassination on top attached to it. Right?
No, that's not character assassination, Jank. That's character suicide. You are committing character suicide because you're supposedly some 60-year-old guy who's been commenting on politics for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and not one time in the history of all of politics have you thought to look up what happened to the World Trade Centers. And now it's apparently a huge subject of interest for you, and you still can't take the time. What the these guys do all day? What do they do with their lives all day? Do they work? Are they broadcasting for 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week? Like, what the are you doing in your free time?
Anti-Semite, a racist, a this, a that, whatever it is, but you're dispatched. You're not allowed on air, right? Now, because of digital media, they can't contain it. And now everybody's asking questions, and they're like, fire Tim Dillon. Damn it, we can't fire Tim Dillon. Okay, then fire Joe Rogan. God damn it, we can't fire Joe Rogan. So now people are starting to ask and ask and ask. And so what I'm telling you now about the seminal moment is we've crossed the Rubicon. You can ask any goddamn thing you like,
right?
Okay, and if they try to fire you for it, they're the bad guys, not you.
And
okay?
asking the question doesn't mean that you already think that it's a conspiracy. You're just trying to prove that it's a conspiracy. The questions about Building 7 are legitimate questions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, look, I'm
like, it's just so fucking cringe. I would kill myself if I was pretending to be in media and asking like the most retarded questions in the universe. Like you think nobody has spoken about this? Nobody's looked into this. Like, what an unbelievably fucking stupid thing to say on air. Like, oh my God, guys, it's 2025. Has anybody looked into Building 7? Has anybody thought about what's going on there? Like,
I'm willing to get convinced on anything, but Building 7 is a mystery that is nearly impossible. Like the idea that the towers would collapse themselves, north and south, after they got hit, that the steel could burn so much that they could collapse is a very controversial idea within engineering circles, right? But but a building across the street with other buildings in between, no, the steel didn't burn down. No way. That is not the correct answer. So the same thing with JFK. So if when I was growing up, if you ever said anything about JFK, you were told to shut up and you get fired, etc. Now I don't know who killed JFK because I don't have the secret files in front of me. I don't know what happened on 9/11. But it's not my job to know. It's my job to ask questions, right? And it's the job.
No, it's not your job to ask questions. You f***ing retard. You fat piece of shit. Your job is to give answers. You're a journalist. You don't just ask questions on air with no, that's what retards do. Hey, did anybody know about that? Or when journalists say they're asking questions, that's part of their investigative method to deliver answers to the public. You're not supposed to just sit up here and ask, what happened here? What about that? What about that? What about any random retard can do that?
Job of the government to tell us the correct answers. So what I'm telling you now is, on JFK, I'm absolutely positive the government story is not the correct answer. Lee Harvey Oswald didn't shoot him from 3 states away and hit everything else in between and is the greatest shot of all time, even though he had nothing to do with JFK.
You didn't need to be the greatest shot of all. Other people have made those shots. It's not the great. People act like this guy was like 360 no-scoping 3 times in a row with instant reload aim hacks.
There's tons and tons of people who despise JFK and wanted him killed. They said on the record they wanted him killed.
Also, wasn't it like 120 yards or something?
So I don't know which one of them did it. I do know that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald acting by himself. And if you want to do the old games and say, well, the government said it, so you're a conspiracy theorist, you can do that all day long, guys.
Haven't we watched videos of this, of like other Marines making these shots? They were like decently hard shots, sure. But I mean, is the Lee Harvey Oswald shot possible?
Glaring omissions in the tests fired for the commission. CBS News decided to conduct its own tests with the Mannlicher Carcano.
A moving target is harder to hit than a stationary one, and the elevation of the 6th floor window might make a difference. The only elevation for the Warren Commission firing tests was a 30-foot tower, less than half the height of the book depository's 6th floor above Elm Street. So CBS News had a tower and target track constructed to match exactly the heights and distances in Dealey Plaza.
Why, am I retarded? Or no, maybe just only the good media survived. Well, I feel like our older media was so good. Am I crazy?
Target track was angled to match precisely the angle of Elm Street. The target, a standard FBI silhouette, moved by electric motor at 11 miles an hour, approximately the speed of the presidential limousine. A rifle of the same make and age as Oswald's was fitted with the same 4-power telescopic sight found on his rifle. 11 volunteer marksmen took turns, firing clips of 3 bullets each at the moving target. None of the men had much familiarity with the Italian Mannlicher Carcano, although each was given time to practice at a nearby indoor range, and most of the volunteers were experienced with bolt-action rifles. In each case, the first shot was fired at a point approximating the point at which the Warren Commission deduced the first shot was fired. Distance, about 175 feet. In 6 seconds, the distance grows to 270 feet. Results varied. A Maryland state trooper made 2 hits in the silhouette. 1 near miss in slightly less than 5 seconds. Another state trooper's best time was 5.4 seconds.
Finally, familiar terrain. We must be getting close to their village.
1 hit, 2 near misses. A weapons engineer had the best score.
Jeez.
3 hits in 5.2 seconds.
What was the time for all 3 shots being fired? How long did it take for all 3 shots fired? Lee Harvey Oswald. 8 seconds? This is the one where they're like, he fired so fast and accurate that it was impossible. Well, this says slightly less than 6 seconds.
But it doesn't matter because you said on the record they wanted him killed. So I don't know which one of them did it. I do know that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald acting by himself. And if you want to do the old games and say, well, the government said it, so you're a conspiracy theorist, you can do that all day long, guys. But it doesn't matter because you lost. Because now
like he's right, we did lose. Retardation did win in the end of the day, but it's not because you were correct on things. It's just you guys are so fucking loud
did win in the end.
with your retardation. You ended up drowning out all the other voices. Yeah, good job.
You look ridiculous. So now when you turn back to 9/11, no, I don't know the answer, guys. I don't know who did it, why they did it, or maybe it did happen just like October 7th, where it's not that Israel did it, but there was a weird stand-down order. Why was there a stand-down order? And that's not me saying that's IDF soldiers saying there was a stand-down order right at that exact time. Order. Maybe it did happen. So now when you turn back to 9/11, no, I don't know the answer, guys. I don't know who did it, why they did it, or maybe it did happen just like October 7th, where it's not that Israel did it, but there was a weird stand-down order.
What's the weird stand-down? What is this? The shed you read from all of them. What is the weird stand-down order? What are we talking about here? Like they were fighting Hamas that was in Israel. Like that was a thing that was happening, or...
Why was there a stand-down order? And that's not me saying, that's IDF soldiers saying there was a stand-down order right at that exact time when we never have a stand-down order. So that's not me saying Israel did it, that's me saying that's weird.
That is weird,
right?
We need an answer to that.
Yeah, and you need a plausible answer to that. Not, trust me, bro, which is what the government's been doing the entire time. And then one more quick thing on, here's the answer. So now we're told that conveniently, there was a building that melted down in a similar way in Tehran. Wait, does Iran acknowledge that? Or is that some intelligence we got from a trusted ally? And just trust us, bro, that building went down just like World Trade Center 7 did.
You spent 1 hour so far debunking 2 claims, 10-minute long video, so much time wasted on what is essentially already answered questions. These people asking questions could have just looked up themselves before spreading all this bullshit. Yeah, well, they've never looked up or they don't care. I guess it's just frustrating because, like I said, that it's not even so much that they're wrong. It's not even so much that they're retarded or malicious. It's that it sucks away oxygen from having actual conversations about stuff that might be important to talk about. Now it's just like we talk about this stupid shit.
Yeah, maybe and maybe not.
Should we play a few more clips?
Yeah.
Okay, so the topic then switched to whether anyone may have known that this terror attack was going to happen, but withheld that information or that intel from the American people.
Our twink gear here.
Or the American government. Anyway, let's get to that clip.
Is it cocked up, or do you think there is merit to suggestion that some people somewhere must have known more than we've been told?
Well, I'm just asking questions. Certainly plausible.
I don't know.
Well, we know that people did know more than we've been told. I mean, somebody shorted the airlines and a bunch of the banks that were affected. Now, this is not...
Somebody shorted something? People are shorting things all the time. Well, like, okay.
Not a conspiracy theory, it's not a guess. This is publicly available information. Now, the FBI found out the identity of the person or institution that shorted these events on 9/11 and made a huge amount of money by doing that.
How much? Why not say the amount?
It never released that information, so why can't...
then how do you even know about it?
We know who clearly had foreknowledge. I mean, if you're shorting American Airlines a week before 9/11, when no one knows it's coming, I think you should have to explain why you did that. And if you're...
Really? So every single person has to explain every single action that they did that they might have somehow in a roundabout way been benefited from? Like, I was planning on going to New York this September, but I canceled my plans. Now the FBI is going to come knocking on your door. Like, why'd you cancel your plans? Well, we noticed that you stayed home instead. That's really weird. Did you know 9/11 was going to happen? What the fuck kind of... Like, this is so on its face absurd. Such an absurd proposition that every single person now has to account for every single... Jesus Christ.
You're shorting Barclays and banks that were affected by 9/11. Why can't we know who you are? These are public markets, by the way. This is not private equity. This is publicly traded equities.
That's fascinating. I mean, there could be an explanation for why that individual decided to short American Airlines. It could have been a crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
Publicly traded doesn't mean that everybody's positions are
known. We know that Tucker Carlson lies,
like,
right?
I buy and sell publicly traded stocks. I don't think you can look up the individual buyer and seller of every single publicly traded stock.
Yeah. So look, again, the problem isn't the answer. The problem is that we weren't allowed to ask before. Right. So for example, is it possible that somebody had a different hunch based on a completely different thing and they shorted American and they got quote unquote lucky, right? In that sense. Now you could say that.
Or it could just be that, airlines are always like good short targets because they fucking suck. They're like the least profitable companies in the fucking United States. That's why we're changing them so often. What do you mean?
It was rolling your eyes. Oh yeah, what a coincidence. But it might be. It might be, right? It depends on the scale of it. It depends.
I like how they're pretending that's like the most unlikely thing ever, but they're being charitable. Like, is it possible that maybe somebody could have chose to short the exact airlines that would go, that would decrease in value? I mean, I guess it's possible. We're being fair. I guess it's possible. Like, wow, dude.
On who it is it Rando Bomb from Nebraska? Well, how the hell would he know, right? But if it's somebody from the intelligence community, oh, wait, that's a different thing, right? If it's a senator, that's a different thing, right? So why aren't the American people allowed to know? I mean, you don't even have to give me the brother's name, whether it was the guy who shorted Barclays or the company that did, or American or whatever. Just like, can we find out what category they were in? Were they a farmer? Were they a banker? What were they, right? But for everything, they always tell you the same thing. Shut up, otherwise we'll ruin you. We'll assassinate your character and say you're a conspiracy theorist and you'll never work again.
Yeah.
That reaction makes me think, wait, maybe this is worse than I thought.
Yeah,
because what a weirdo reaction for the most normal questions about...
They're not normal questions. I want to know the status of every single trade that you might have engaged in prior to... That's not a normal question at all. That's a insane question. What if there was some dude who worked at the FBI or the CIA and he's like, oh, I'm going to short all the airline stocks, this week. And it's like 9/11. I was like, oh. And now Jen gets access to all of your trades, like this random,
and then I'm
low-level worker knew the whole 9/11 plot. It's like, well, me, I guess. Jesus.
One of the most important events in American history.
It is one of the most important and most tragic events in American history. It was the largest terror attack on U.S. soil. Okay, thousands of people died, and it served as the catalyst for changing this country forever, and not for the best, I would argue. Okay, violations of American.
Bring up the Jew shit. You know you want to. What are the 3 ones? It's dancing Israelis, the Jewish text messages, and the the insurance for the building owners. Please, God.
Americans' privacies, mass surveillance, the Patriot Act, obviously, foreign wars. It just goes
Global war on terrorism that cost us $8 trillion.
Yes.
Happen to take out other people's enemies, not our
I'm gonna
enemies.
go through
Anyways,
this
but
way.
Other people's enemy. Just say it, you fucking wuss. You're such a...
Oh, wait, no,
Just
I probably
say
have a
it.
really fucking
Just say
awesome
it, okay?
tool for this.
Israel's enemies. Say it.
It just goes
global war on terrorism that cost us $8 trillion.
Yes.
Happen to take out other people's enemies, not our enemies. Anyways, but one other thing, the Bin Ladens. So why did we fly out the Bin Ladens? No one's ever answered that.
That's a great question.
So that was a question from the left. That was Michael Moore asking that question. What a weird reaction. You're telling me Osama bin Laden did it, and your first reaction was to gather up all the Bin Ladens that apparently lived inside America and fly them out first class to Saudi Arabia.
Why?
And I'm not allowed to ask why? No.
I don't even know what the reference. I haven't heard this one before.
That's crazy talk. Guys, this isn't about right or left. This is about our government doesn't represent us, and they keep telling us funny stories that don't make any sense. The minute you ask one question, they try to take your head off.
Yeah.
So you got one more?
One more clip. Let's take a look.
So clearly, yes, there was foreknowledge. By the way, there was a team, this is according to the FBI, by the way, this is the FBI saying, there was a
Team of Mossad dancing. Please do the dancing Israelis. Please! So that Anna can go off. Queen.
team of clearly intel-connected foreigners who were
Dancing.
arrested after 9/11, as you well know,
Dancing.
Videotaping the terror attacks. This is, I'm almost verbatim quoting from the FBI assessment of this.
About to come.
And the FBI determined that they apparently had
Mossad.
foreknowledge of the attacks.
Say it.
So why can't we know more about that? Exactly. Shut up. That's bigoted. No, this is my country.
So I don't
Are we not going to say dancing?
know if he's referring to
To the-
the 5 Israelis
There it
who
is,
a
yes.
witness had seen taking photos, not recording, but taking photos of the World Trade Center as it was being attacked.
Yes.
One of them was holding a lighter up to the World Trade Center prior to the attack. And I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but those...
Like, how did
People
they
take
crack the
pictures
code
of the World
on
Trade Center.
Israel being behind 9/11 and knowing about it? Well, what happened was one of the Mossad agents was holding a lighter up while video recording it in a clearly public area where everybody else could see them, and that's how they exposed the entire plan. Jesus.
5 individuals were kept in U.S. custody for over 2 months. The FBI absolutely did believe that at least 2 of them had connections to Mossad, right, the Israeli intelligence organization. And I read the FBI files on this, and the investigation just like
Doubt it.
abruptly kind of ended after a little over 2 months. John Ashcroft, specifically, the attorney general at the time, called for them to be released and sent back to Israel. And then a few years after that, he served as a consultant who consulted on behalf of Israel.
I mean, it's absurd. So guys, look, on that one, again, that's the one that people get most touchy about because they assume all sorts of things in your head that aren't in your head. Like, oh, that must mean that you hate Israel and you hate Jews and you hate this. No, hold on, guys. We're not talking about any of that. We're saying, why did they go to document that event? And that's not my words, that's their words. One of them was on Israeli TV afterwards when he was shipped back to Israel, and they said, why did you go? And he slipped up. I assume he slipped up. He said, we went to document the event, which makes you...
He slipped up. He slipped up and said, we're going to go record the largest terrorist attack ever that's happened in all of your history. Oops.
Why did they go to document that event? And that's not my words, that's their words. Because they assume all sorts of things in your head that aren't in your head. Like, oh, that must mean that you hate Israel and you hate Jews and you hate this. No, hold on, guys. We're not talking about any of that. We're saying, why did they go to document that event? And that's not my words, that's their words. One of them was on Israeli TV afterwards when he was shipped back to Israel, and they said, why did you go? And he slipped up. I assume he slipped up. He said, we went to document the event, which makes you ask, how did you know there was going to be an event?
Like, how can you be saying like this and think you're a serious person? Like this is where we're at right now, really? This is a serious broadcast in our alternative media landscape. This is real right now. Then the guys went on TV and they were like, why'd you go there? Like, we were there to document the terrorist. It's like, house moment. They must have known in advance if they went there to report it.
So now you're not supposed to ask that question, otherwise you're going to get called all sorts of names.
And by the way, there could even be,
Wait, I don't think I've seen this before.
But that was always so funny to me because it's like, what do you think happened, right? Like the CIA was like, okay, plan's ready to go, ready to blow up the World Trade Center. There's only one step left.
The dancing is real?
The clues.
Oh, the clue.
Yep. Yeah, it's clue time. It's time to get the clues out there, so we're going to have the Treasury team up with Mad Magazine.
even be a legitimate explanation for that, right? Maybe they happened to be in New York City at the time doing other spy operations. The claim was that, you know, or the FBI...
They're like, maybe there just happened to be some Jews visiting Brooklyn. I guess. Maybe we're supposed to believe that maybe there are a few Jewish people, I guess, visiting New York City. It's possible.
Also believe that there were Israeli nationals or members or agents of Mossad here in the United States spying on Arabs. Okay, that's the...
Yeah, on Arabs.
On Arabs, okay.
Okay, that's what they say.
Maybe they just happen to be in New York City.
Is that okay, by the way?
I don't think that's okay, especially if our government and our intelligence organizations don't know about it. But okay, putting that aside for a second, Maybe they saw that there was an attack and they went to this specific area to take more images and whatever of the World Trade Center. I don't know. I don't know what the explanation is. But the point is,
this is why people should be forced to debate, I think. If you're going to say outlandish shit like this, you should be forced to sit for an hour and a half with somebody else, and you should have to have a back and forth so that the entire world could see how absolutely clueless you are about every single thing you talked about. And then I think it would force some humility, and I think it would force some caution when these people utter statements like this, because they know that they'll have to defend it at some point in the future. But the fact that you can just sit here and diarrhea out this garbage, knowing that you'll never have any pushback whatsoever, and then retreat to the arms of idiots like Tucker Carlson is absolutely insane to me.
these questions are okay to ask, especially when the moving company that these 5 Israelis were working for ended up being a total front, and the owner of that moving company immediately scrambled to get back to Israel once the 5 individuals had been arrested. And by the way, in the moving truck, they found foreign passports, $4,700 in cash, all sorts of weird, shady things that make you wonder, make you ask these appropriate questions. And remember, the 5 got arrested after a witness. In the moving truck, they found foreign passports, $4,700 in cash.
I don't even understand what that. So they found cash and passports. Assuming everything she's saying is even true. But okay, so in some travelers in a truck, they found cash and passports? It's 2001. It's not like they were using Apple Tap to pay. I don't even know what we're,
All sorts of weird, shady things that make you wonder, make you ask these appropriate questions. And remember, the 5 got arrested after a witness saw them taking the photos of the World Trade Center and also, in her words, celebrating. They looked happy.
Taking photos of the World Trade? What? Oh, I didn't know that. So they were taking pictures of the World Trade Center too. That changes things. Now we've got Jews in Israel taking pictures of the World Trade Center, and they have cash and passports.
All right, so guys, last thing on this. Again, it doesn't mean that Israel did it, for example. It could be that they knew about it, on October 7th, but chose not to say anything.
No. These would be the best gaslighting partners. Oh my God.
It could be that they said something, but we didn't listen to them. Okay, that could also be the case.
Right.
Remember, there was a famous CIA warning to Bush when he was on his Crawford Ranch, and they said Bin Laden determined to attack inside the United States, and Bush said, "You covered your ass, now go home," and ignored it.
Right.
So there could be legitimate things, but if you have a legitimate answer, telling everybody to shut up and calling them bigots is a weird response, right? And then final thought here. Now, no one disputes that they were Israeli spies and that they were released back to Israel, right?
People do dispute it even till this day. But
of course, the Israeli government's going to lie about everything. So I don't mean illegitimate, ridiculous things like there is no genocide in Gaza, no one got hurt in Gaza. You could say absurd things, right? But we know there was Israeli spies. ABC News reported it, Fox News reported it at the time, etc. The FBI in its own reports has the Israeli spies, right? And then they send them back to Israel, just like we did with Bin Laden. Why would you catch spies?
Wait, it sounds like it was the family of Bin Laden that flew back to Saudi Arabia. Which also, I guess, probably makes sense with that. They're probably going to get harassed or killed in the U.S. if they're still here. But also, these are Arabs, okay? These guys have huge families.
Any nation, let alone after the worst attack against your country ever, and then let them go. Why would you let them go? Assume that
what?
Israel. Why would you catch spies of any nation, let alone after the worst attack?
Oh, I was thinking the Israelis
against your country ever, and then let them go.
I don't think spying
Why would you
is
let them
necessarily
go?
illegal.
Assume that Israel had absolutely nothing to do with it and no foreknowledge, no nothing, because we don't know that. But you did catch these Israeli spies. They did say they were there to document the event. Maybe they said that later. But it is weird. They were taking pictures of it. You thought to question them for 2 months. That's how freaked out you were by it. And then all of a sudden, you don't just go, oh, okay, I get it. It was a miscommunication or whatever.
Well, isn't that exactly what would happen if there was nothing? You would investigate for a little bit. You find nothing. They'd be released.
You guys didn't do anything wrong. You then say, even though I know you're a spy for a foreign country and you were spying on us here in America, you're free to go. Why are they free to go? Forget 9/11. We caught spies here. Yeah. Why are they free to go? Why were the Bin Ladens free to go? Why were the Israeli spies free to go? That is not an illegitimate question. It doesn't get any more legitimate than that question. And if you can't answer that, the problem isn't in the person asking the question. The problem is in the person that won't give the answer to the American people.
They were there to document the event. There would be nobody there to take pictures. Yeah, I know. It's just. But again, they never have to give an alternate hypothesis. They just ask 50 million questions over and that's it. And they don't even And again, you can tell because they don't even look up the answers. House Democrats released sexually suggested letter to Jeffrey Epstein reportedly signed by Trump, which he's denied. Voiceover, there must be more to life than having everything. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is, nor will I, since I know what it is. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. We do. Come to think of it, enigmas never age. If you thought of that, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. Something, be another wonderful secret. Donald J. Trump. The FBI calls him Agent 007. 0 Epstein intel collected, 0 kids saved, 7 children
I think he's telling the truth.
You think that Trump was an FBI informant?
Yes, I do.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think that?
Number one, that's a super weird thing to make up. You don't just slip up and go, oh yeah, John Idaho is a CIA agent. You're like, wait, what? Why would that even pop into your head? Okay, because it's also very specific. It's not, oh, he helped loosely. He said he was an FBI informant. Interesting. And
no, come on. If we're being honest, Mike was just reaching for words that sound good. He's like, oh, this guy helped. This guy told on Epstein to the FBI and stuff. He was an FBI informant. You know, he was like, he was doing this in real time. What the? Yeah, apparently he's already walked it back. Wait, hello? I'm sorry, I need to listen to that again. 1 second.
An about face on Epstein since 2009. I'm going to read you those quotes in just a minute. But Jake, did you want to jump in?
Yeah. So look, guys, this Mike Johnson thing is really interesting. And no, I don't think he's lying. I think he's telling the truth.
You think that Trump was an FBI informant?
Yes, I do.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think that?
Bruh. Number one, that's a super weird thing to make up. You don't just slip up and go, oh yeah, John Idaho is a CIA agent. You're like, wait, what? Why would that even pop into your head?
Why would why would he even know that? Oh, am I retarded? Was he like a former FBI director? What do you mean slip up? Like, is this just a well-known thing that everybody except the entirety of the American public? Why would you think he would even have that information? Well, like, what?
Okay, because it's also very specific. It's not, oh, he helped loosely. He said he was.
It literally was. He helped loosely. You could tell he was just reaching for stupid. Oh my God! Let's just to watch this again. It was obviously him, just like, oh, he's an informant, basically. Like,
what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has
yeah, you kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He's an FBI informant and tried to take us down. Like, do you think he's making a strong statement here of like Donald Trump formerly was like recognized? He was like he was a confidential informant to the FBI for Epstein. Like, why if even if that was true, why would he know it? And no one else has leaked or talked about this? Well, why wouldn't Trump say this? What a stupid. Okay, sorry. So Cenk believes that was like an accidental slip from a very, very, very real and true piece of information. All right.
The FBI informant.
I know, but when a politician speaks, they're usually lying, and oftentimes they say very.
Oh my God. This is our political commentary? Like I'm watching an episode of House MD? When a politician speaks, they're usually lying. This is the level of analysis we get? Thank you.
Specific things that end up being.
I know, but think about it.
Okay.
Being an FBI informant is a disaster. That is not a thing that Trump would want anyone to know. Why? Because it's a bad idea to turn in a child predator? No. No, because usually they don't just come and go, hey, Bob, down the street, you want to be an FBI informant? No, they turn you into an FBI informant after they have evidence against you.
Oh, my. You know what? You're right. You're right.
Wow. So profound.
This can't be real life. Is this actually like, bro, my media?
I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why when he slips up, he even has like this little hitch in his head where he goes like, oh, oops, I shouldn't have said that. You can almost see it in the video.
Can we cue that video up again? Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Cenk. I hadn't thought about that. Wow. Okay, so
there's more on that in a second, but yeah, let's see if we can see when he says it and how he reacts immediately after.
And he's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
Well, also, he didn't kick him out when he first heard the rumor. He waited for one time and then a second time. Then he kicked him out, but okay.
Did you see it? He's like, he was an FBI informant. He did that. Oh, wait, I shouldn't have said that, right? So now I'm over-interpreting. You can say, hey, don't worry about the video. Look, I didn't see what you saw. That's not important. What's important is he said he was an FBI informant. That is not a random thing you make up. Then why is he walking it back today? He's walking it back today because people are going to start asking the question I'm asking, which is why? Why was he an FBI informant? And the number one group of people who are FBI informants are mobsters, as an example, who were caught and are going to go to prison for 20, 30 years for the rest of their life unless they turn on their boss, right? And so then they become an informant. Nobody ever becomes an informant out of the blue. Trump wasn't working at the FBI, and the FBI flips him into an informant. So then you can't help but ask, why? What did Trump do?
That's such a good point, and I hadn't thought of that. Now, is that true though, that no one is ever an FBI informant unless they're like essentially coerced into doing it because they engaged in wrongdoing and they don't want to be prosecuted for it?
So no, I can't say that it's true 100% of the time, but is it true an overwhelming percentage of the time? Yes. So I can envision a couple of scenarios. Somebody's maybe in a family or.
2 weeks ago, Mike Collins said this.
I want to just ask my question, which was, party unity, the Epstein files. I mean, do you think Trump's in there?
Yeah, I'm sure he's in there because he's the one that was telling the FBI about it. He's the one that kicked the guy out of Mar-a-Lago and then called the FBI. Yeah, he's in there.
So, what's going to happen? Are you going to vote to release him, or vote to keep him?
Oh, we need to release him.
What about you?
Yeah, man, I have no problem releasing him, but you know, you've got to go through.
So this is the talking points they all got.
Nice. You got to go through the judicial. We all know that. The problem is, you know, it'd be our luck that somebody's going to bleep somebody that's supposed to be protected, and then what?
Yeah, well,
so
you know,
they've got to go through and
victims' names and all that stuff.
They've got to go through and fix all of it. And then, of course, now you got judges that are saying, I'm not going to release anything grand jury.
Or in a gathering that they didn't realize had bad guys in it, and then the FBI approaches them and says, "You're a good guy. You were in this gathering, but you didn't know, but they're mobsters. So can you be an informant for us because you would save a lot of lives, or etc." So it's not impossible, but the reason why that's very rare is because most of the time the standard operating procedure is you flip people into becoming informants.
But Jake, it's amazing because now what we're talking about at this moment sheds some light on what is being referenced in this quote that I'm about to read to you. So this is Brad Andrews, an attorney who represents many of Epstein's victims. So this individual told reporters that Trump has done an about face on Epstein since 2009. Edwards said that when he spoke to Trump in 2009, Trump was friendly to the victim's plight and did not think that it was a hoax and was trying to help.
Like, who the f cares? Trump says all sorts of shit. Why are we analyzing Trump's quotes like this is a serious person? Trump also said that he wishes the best for Ghislaine and hopes that, you know, she has a good time in jail or whatever, right? Like, why are we analyzing any of this guy's quotes as a serious thing?
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. And so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
Like, he just says a lot of retarded shit.
And now it seems like all of a sudden somebody is in his ear and he's not, Edwards said. So I'm hoping he'll come back to where he was back in 2009, be on the side of the victims, and stand with us. Now, go ahead.
Jumping in again there. So guys, look, there is some percentage chance, you can put any percentage, you know, usually based on your perspective on what that is, that Trump just volunteered because he knew Epstein, he did, right? So that makes it plausible. And he was in the same social circle, so that makes it plausible that Trump raised his hand and said, hey, I'd like to help your investigations, right? Okay. Or the reason why the attorney for the victims is saying, oh yeah, in the day Trump was really helpful was because he was an FBI informant who was forced to be helpful and was helpful to the victims back then. So that's interesting and amazing in and of itself. But then what he's alluding to is perhaps more remarkable. Why did he switch to now being opposed to the investigations and calling them a hoax when the attorney knows, the victims know, everybody knows, he knows it's not a hoax. He was in fact involved in it. So now it's because Mike Johnson, maybe he had a verbal hiccup, right? But when the attorneys for the victims confirm that Trump did help, it shows that he was involved. And again, normally they don't pick somebody on the street to be involved. They pick some.
I don't think his attorneys confirmed in any meaningful sense, no? I feel like I remember watching one guy on TV say something like, I called Trump and he said that, like, you know, he gave me a little bit of information about him working with Epstein and he didn't try to attack us. Like, that was it, right? What, is he referencing something else? Was there something different besides that one call? Who was I debating? It wasn't Rob Moore, it was somebody else who was trying to, it was that one stupid conservative guy who was like, oh, didn't you know that Trump actually helped the FBI? He gave a public statement or something. Oh, wait, the guy tweeted about it. Who's got the tweets? And it was like, no, he didn't. What the? There's no official, there's no deposition, there's no log or record or court filing or anything with Trump testifying or being deposed related to Epstein. And then it was just this one stupid phone call, or it was like interview for media where the guy was like, oh yeah, he called me once and it was chill. Who, does anybody remember the name of the guy I debated? Because he had, Misfit Patriot. I think this is what he's referring to.
But he's
vindicated. Although I did misspeak a bit and there was never an official deposition or testimony, Trump did in fact work with prosecutors in 2009.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Receipts.
That's not what I'm doing.
You said he testified in that criminal proceeding?
All right,
he testified, I believe he gave a statement to the authorities. He might not have actually testified.
I just fact-checked it. No, there was no testimony.
No, he gave testimony. I'm sorry, he gave testimony. He did not testify, and that's confirmed by the DOJ. The DOJ is confirmed.
He gave testimony where? For what? I don't think this happened ever. I don't think he ever was interviewed or deposed or gave any statements about Epstein.
He did. I guarantee.
Anything that I can say.
Okay, I think this is what they're talking about, right?
That I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them. He is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know. and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of.
By the way, where are my lawyers in chat?
That was in 2009. That was in 2009.
Where are my lawyers in chat? By the way, that sounds exactly like a guy dodging a subpoena. If you serve me with a subpoena and I make a phone call to you and I'm like, hey, so I saw you have this shit that you either want like some kind of, you know, testimony, you want to depose me, you want some records. Can we, like, let's just chat a little bit, okay? And we can like smooth over this. Like, we don't have to go down this road. Like, let me just tell you a few things, right? That's exactly what that is, by the way. And he even says it kind of, where he's like, yeah, you know, you don't have to depose me.
Indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward what you need to know, and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication. Who picked up the phone and said, let's just people that I wanted to talk to them.
I don't want to do that.
He's the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him. That was in 2009? That was in 2009.
Didn't have to take a deposition means nothing was said under oath. He didn't sign on to any statements for contempt or perjury, liability or accountability. He just had a call on the phone. Like, that's the opposite of informing or testifying or anything. And it sounds like a guy who's trying to dodge a subpoena, if anything else. If you have any idea what the you're talking about, that would be evidence to the contrary, but okay.
Confirm that Trump did help. It shows that he was involved.
This is why I don't trust any media summarizing anything. Like, if I hadn't been aware of that thing, then I wouldn't even know. And then I would have to be aware of also of, like, legal shit to know. Because I guess if I didn't know anything about the legal process, that kind of sounds like Trump is helping. But it's not. This is Trump literally dodging. Sorry, I hate these people. Ugh.
The attorney knows, the victims know, everybody knows. He knows it's not a hoax. He was, in fact, involved in it. So now it's because Mike Johnson, maybe he had a verbal hiccup, right? But when the attorneys for the victims confirm that Trump did help, it shows that he was involved. And again, normally they don't pick somebody out of the street to be involved. They pick someone who was already involved and that they had evidence against.
Well, with all of that context in mind, you know, Congressman Thomas Massie, a libertarian who is really at odds with Donald Trump on this issue, recently went on ABC's This Week, and he had some thoughts of his own. Let's take a look.
The lawyers for the victim said that Donald Trump had been helpful in 2009 in their case by giving them information, but being an informant implies some formal connection and ongoing relationship with the FBI. I don't know what that's all about. I think the speaker needs to clarify that. And if it's a hoax, why was Donald Trump an informant to a hoax?
Yeah, then Trump does continue referring to this as a hoax. So if there's evidence that the president of the United States, at a time when he wasn't president, of course, back in 2009, was cooperating with the FBI, potentially serving as an FBI informant, what has happened that leads him to now refer to this very real issue as a hoax? Again, it's not a hoax.
And one more thing about that. Think about it. If Donald Trump had voluntarily helped to get relief for those victims, is there any chance he wouldn't brag about it? Okay.
There is no chance. Like, he would definitely brag about it because it would make him look good. It would
make him look amazing. But one guy who helped, that just volunteered out of nowhere and said to the FBI, you know what, I'm not sure about this guy. And maybe he did it for bad reasons. So we had a property fight and he took some of my masseuses and from Mar-a-Lago, whatever. But it doesn't matter. If he did the right thing out of nowhere and volunteered, he should get an enormous amount of credit. I've never known Donald Trump not to want to get the credit that he deserves. So that's why the alternate explanation of he's desperately trying to hide that he was an FBI informant is because of why he was an informant.
God, my mind is like blown right now because there's more to the story, as you can imagine, right? So look, the DOJ is fighting very hard to cover certain things up that don't need to be covered up. So I'll give you an example. There's an NBC News exclusive you can read for yourselves. It's titled DOJ names of 2 associates Epstein wired $100,000 and $250,000 should stay secret. That's what the DOJ says, right? The Justice Department request came
because why would you? Well, never mind. My audience is you guys are brain broken on this too. Never mind. Every single aspect of this investigation should just be leaked. Every single part of it, because every single person involved is guilty. Yes.
After NBC News asked a federal judge to unseal the names of 2 people Epstein paid and helped protect from prosecution.
This is what I want.
NBC News has requested that this, federal judge essentially overseeing the Epstein case unseal those 2 names. Who did Jeffrey Epstein send $100,000 to and $250,000 to back in 2018 as that case was being revisited? That sweetheart deal that he received in 2008 was being revisited. So the first associate received a payment of $100,000 from Epstein, and the second associate received a payment of $250,000, both in 2018. Days after the Miami Herald began publishing a series of investigative stories where victims criticized a plea deal he received.
Destiny, lawyer in chat here. That is a terrible excuse and is 100% trying to dodge a subpoena. If not under oath, it means 0. True. And if I was a client, I feel like I would be f***ing mad, right? If we're serving subpoenas, the idea is supposed to be that this person has information that can help me with my claim. And now if my lawyer tells me, hey, just so you know, I went ahead and I called this guy and he actually said he had nothing, just so you know, I was like, can you tell me what you guys talked about? I was like, oh, maybe not. But I have no record of it. And now our subpoena on him is just canceled? The fuck? Who are you representing here? The other guy or me, you know?
Florida in 2008. Now, as part of that plea agreement, Epstein secured a statement from federal prosecutors in Florida that the two individuals would not be prosecuted. Now, by the way, like, gross. Why? Why would anyone agree to that? But prosecutors wrote that on November 30th, 2018, Epstein wired $100,000 from a trust account he controlled to an individual named as, redacted, a potential co-conspirator, and for whom Epstein obtained protection in the NPA. So prosecutors also wrote that this individual was also named and featured prominently in the Miami Herald series. There's more. Prosecutors added that the same records show that just 3 days later, on or about December 3rd, 2018,
Really? You're saying someone giving sufficient info to get an arrest? Well, first of all, this is for a civil case, not for arrest. Like your house camera footage, it makes you look less guilty or involved if they have to subpoena you to get it. Yes, because let's say somebody subpoenas me and they say, Destiny, I want all of your Discord logs with my mom. Okay? Now let's say that I call you and I'm like, hey, listen, I see that you want to like shoot me the subpoena. How about we cancel this and I'll just send you like everything I've got? And you're like, oh, okay. Well, let's say that I don't send you all my logs with your mom. Let's say I just send you like the last month or two's worth and all of the super racy logs are, you know, all of our crazy conversations are from a year ago. Well, if that happens and I withhold some of that and I lie about giving it all to you, you go through your case and you lose because you don't have that information now about me banging your mom. What are you going to do? You can't hold me. You can't hold me liable for any of that. What do you mean? None of this was under oath. None of this was compelled by. You can't hold me in contempt. You can't do anything. You eat shit. You didn't come at me with a civil subpoena that's enforceable via contempt with the court. I just made a personal phone call and gave you what I said I had, and that's it.
The defendant wired $250,000 from the same trust account to redacted, this is the second individual, who was also named as a potential co-conspirator and for whom Epstein also obtained protection in the NPA. So clearly Epstein was attempting to influence possible witnesses or co-conspirators, because like why else would you send such a large sum of money to these two different individuals? And last month, NBC News sent a letter asking the U.S. District Judge Richard Berman to unseal the redacted names, arguing that, look, Epstein's dead, okay, criminal proceedings in this case have ended. The DOJ has made clear last summer, in July, that there would be no additional charges filed against uncharged third parties, so let us have the names. What's the problem with the names? And Trump's Justice Department is fighting tooth and nail to prevent the release of those two redacted names.
Yeah, so when I first saw the story, I thought, maybe they were victims and he's doing hush money. But then once you read it, no, it's super clear. They're co-conspirators and they would have been charged along with him. So they're the guilty, right? And he gets the money and he says, please don't prosecute them. And for some ludicrous reason, our government
The donor
agrees,
class.
And remember, at that point, Epstein got the lightest sentence anybody's ever gotten. He can go in and out of jail. It was basically a hotel farm,
That was in 2008.
2008. Mm-hmm. So that's when he says, okay, don't prosecute these guys and sends them the money, okay? So, but when NBC News is asking for it, Epstein's already dead, so he has no rights anymore. And the government has said there will be no further prosecution. So NBC is rightly saying, and by the way, great job by NBC News here, saying, hey, then there's no reason legally to hold those names from the public.
Well, the damaged party wouldn't be Epstein. It would be the people whose names would be leaked. Yeah.
Right.
So then the Department of Justice jumps in and goes, no, don't tell anybody about those names. Now, if you were trying to protect the victims, that's super weird.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to protect the guilty, that makes sense.
Why are you saying the guilty? Not only have these people not been convicted of any crimes, these people weren't even charged with crimes. There wasn't even probable cause to charge them with a crime or to even attempt to solicit an indictment from a grand jury. And you're already calling them guilty? Jesus. Okay, remember, when we had a sitting senator from Michigan on the Hill, okay, it was roasted on Israel-Palestine. The only thing they talked about was to roast the fuck out of her. I wonder how contentious this interview will be with fucking MAGA spokesperson Marjorie Taylor Greene. One of the most disgusting, despicable, subhuman cretinous fucks that is infesting our federal Congress right now. Let's see.
Back on TYT.
Or not the Hill, breaking point, sorry.
Ken Cougar and Anna Kasparian with you guys. Also now joining us, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman from Georgia's 14th Congressional District. Representative Greene, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on tonight.
No problem. I understand you have big news for us. There is something you are considering introducing tomorrow. What is that?
Well, actually, I've already introduced them. This week here in Congress, we're doing the National Defense Authorization Act, which is our annual funding.
Oh, my God. Are they going to take away funding from Israel? Yes, come on. Let's go.
For our military. And our military budget should be very focused on our country, on our military, and strictly for defense purposes. However, once again, there is funding for foreign countries, foreign causes, foreign aid, and foreign defense of foreign nations. And so I've introduced multiple amendments to strip that funding out. Specifically to defund $600 million for Ukraine. So I've got one amendment to do that. And then I have a second amendment to take out any funding because I found out that one of my colleagues is trying to add more money in for Ukraine. I have two amendments that strip funding from Israel. This would be $500 million. Israel already receives $3.8 billion annually from the United States government. I'm a big believer in defunding all foreign aid and all foreign funding for all foreign countries. So I've introduced two amendments. One to get the $500. million out of the NDAA. The 3.8 billion goes in the state and foreign ops approach bill, so that's separately. And I had done amendments for that. And then I have another amendment that takes out another $105 million. This one is $55 million for Israel's counter-drone program and another $70 million for anti-tunnel cooperation. So it's just important. We're $37 trillion in debt. We shouldn't be funding foreign countries, basically because America's broke, and we really need to get focused on our own country and our own people's problems.
Our own country and our own people. That sounds like a job for a Department of Defense, not a Department of War. Destiny, to be fair, this is a different show with different interviewer. Emma isn't Crystal Ball. Well, no, I'm just saying that these are like, look at how our leftists, quote unquote, treat
amazing. We got our
senators who are supposed to be on our side, fighting valiantly in purple states versus look at how the left
is there
treats
another ring that I might want?
Like Marjorie Taylor Greene. It is crazy, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be a very contentious interview. Who knows? Maybe they'll push her on some things.
Okay, so I want to take it one by one. I want to get clarity on all this, and then we'll get into the content and substance of it. So first off, the $500 million that you introduced an amendment to take out the NDAA, is that the one that recently passed overwhelmingly in the House?
Yes, that's the one that overwhelmingly passed. It was before Congress went on recess, and only 6 members of Congress voted for it. Yes.
And so that they claim is for defensive purposes, whatever that means. And about 60 million of billion of it or so, million of it goes to around 66 maybe to Iron Dome, and the rest is.
Did you say Emma? Somebody else said Emma, but it was Crystal Ball interviewing on Breaking Points.
For I don't know if you know, vague defensive purposes.
Well, just to clarify for your listeners, the U.S. already provides nuclear-armed Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. In 2024, in the Security Supplemental, we gave $8.7 billion to Israel. During the recent 12-day war with Iran in June, the U.S. used 15 to 20% of our terminal high-altitude area defense missile stockpile defending Israel. That cost the United States somewhere over $800 million. So the $500 million that I'm introducing an amendment to take out is authorized in the NDAA for this program that funds Israel's missile defense systems, Iron Dome, David Sling, and the Arrow system. But it's important to note that since 2006, we've spent over $15 billion supporting these Israeli missile defense systems. Here's what is something important to.
That's a horrible comparison, but your brain broke when it comes to anything the Young Turks. Excuse me, do the Young Turks not still market themselves as like leftist progressives? I would say they're considerably worse than Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske. But supposedly, I think these guys kind of say they're on the same team. No, am I wrong there? Do the Young Turks not call themselves leftists or leftist populists anymore?
Full twink before.
To understand, while we're $37 trillion in debt, Israel is less than $400 billion in debt. And they're doing so well with their economy, they're able to provide state-funded healthcare for Israeli citizens. They're able to provide state-funded college. My argument is it's not anti-Semitic to say that America should keep our money and invest our own hard-earned tax dollars in our own interests, especially for a country like Israel that is nuclear-armed and that is doing so well economically. They're able to provide state-funded healthcare and college. I don't think that's a country that needs our
because that's definitely things that Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to offer in the United States, for sure.
Assistance, especially how they've shown the entire world that they're very capable of annihilating and wiping out their enemies. So that's really my argument there with Israel. And primarily my argument is we've got so many problems here at home. I really want to see the United States Congress focus on the American people.
So one more quick point of clarification. And the second amendment is to take out the entire $3.8 billion in funding?
Well, the $3.8 billion is not in the NDAA. That's in a separate appropriations bill, so I wasn't able to do that one here.
Right.
Oh, so you couldn't do that here. So the two amendments are for the $500 million and the $125 million.
And just to be clear, the $3.8 billion that we provide Israel every single year is part of legislation that passed under the Obama administration, a 10-year program, which is set to expire in 2026. So that fight is coming up because I'm sure Israel is going to expect our Congress to re-up and potentially increase the amount of money they can expect from American taxpayers on a yearly basis. So, I think what you're doing here is so important, Congresswoman Greene. So please, thank you, because I know that you now have a target on your back, and I'm sure you're being called all sorts of ridiculous names because you want to, prioritize the American people and, do something about our debt. What's really interesting, though, is when it comes to the military aid that's provided to Ukraine, President Donald Trump has very subtly, but I actually think this is a smart idea, has very subtly kind of started to shift the financial burden a little more over to Europe. So the American taxpayer isn't as responsible for essentially helping Ukraine in their defense. In the case of Israel, though, what's really interesting is on top of that $3.8 billion that they receive every single year, you have presidents, and Biden certainly did this literally over 100 times during his administration. He just went, he bypassed Congress altogether to provide Israel with tens of billions of dollars in additional military support and military funding. And Trump has done similar things during the short stint he's had in his second term. And I want to kind of understand, what have you as...
It's Biden and Trump.
Both sides do it. What are you talking about?
No, he doesn't feel like he believes it there. Oh, I said this before for this one. I think I need a different one.
Both sides do it. What are you talking about?
Because it sounds like he's saying that both sides are different in this one. That's what the tone of voice leads me to believe.
The Congresswoman experience, kind of like behind the scenes, what is it about Israel in particular that gets our lawmakers to just be unwavering in their support and their willingness to shell out endless amounts of money to that country?
Yeah, what's going on there?
These people have a mental disorder.
That's what's going on.
I think that's a great question, and it's really difficult to understand. So I don't go on the AIPAC trips. I've never been on them. I don't receive their funding, and I have a sign on my office door, literally, that reminds people, if you're coming in my office, it reminds them, if you're coming in for a foreign country, you've got to be registered under FARA, and I think that's extremely important. I don't understand.
More of this, the propaganda talking points. AIPAC doesn't receive money from Israel, or if it does, that's never been proven. There's never been a proven link or connection there, but they just like to say that over and over again. Nice.
Understand it, Anna, because I serve in the United States House of Representatives, and I believe my job title as a representative is for my district, which is the American people. And as a whole, the body of Congress, we represent
That's your district? All of the United States? When did we do that redistricting?
The American people and our country and our government and our causes, and we're supposed to work towards solving our problems. However, there is no country all over the world that gets the attention, the funding, the dedication, the amount of votes, legislation, resolutions other than Israel. As a matter of fact, we've voted, I think it's over 21 to 23 resolutions denouncing anti-Semitism, denouncing anything happening towards Jewish people since I've been a member of Congress, January of 2021, and I've never seen resolutions for any other cause like that in that number. As well as when it comes to Israel, we have hate crimes, which is incredibly important. We need hate crimes. People of all backgrounds, races, no matter what their identity is, they should be protected. However, in our NDAA, there's a portion there where they're introducing more penalties for anti-Semitism when it comes to college campuses and protesting. I'm completely against that. So I'm not sure how to answer your question of why. Part of it is there's Christians in America that really believe that verse in Genesis, bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and they believe that applies today to the secular government of Israel.
Oh, it's the Bible.
Oh, of course.
That's it.
I personally don't believe that, and I'm a Christian, and I believe that's basically a pretty big stumbling stone. If you're a Christian, you truly believe that Jesus died on a cross and rose 3 days later and ascended into heaven, and we have very deep convictions on what that meant. That meant that he died for all of our sins to be forgiven. We don't believe in that verse in Genesis, meaning that covers up everything that Jesus did. But I think that holds a lot of power over many of my colleagues and a certain percentage of Americans today. But I think the separation of understanding that being against what the secular government, nuclear armed government of Israel is doing, it doesn't make you an anti-Semitic person. It doesn't make you against Jewish people. It just means that, and for me, it means that I believe our problems are so big in America and our debt is so massive that I'm sorry to the rest of the world, no offense to anyone, but I think we just really got to focus at home.
What happened to focusing on the debt with that one big beautiful bill, though? What was going on there?
My follow-up to you is more philosophical than policy related, because I don't think I'm mistaken in noticing a change in you, to be quite frank, and it's a change that I personally like. There's a certain seriousness and maturity in the way.
This is the Jewish space laser lady. This is where are the Facebook posts? Oh my God. She was an unironic QAnon supporter, right? She believed in Q, that he was going to show up.
That you deliver what your objectives are and how you genuinely want to serve what's in the best interest of your constituents and the people of this country. Do you feel that, the way that this, genocide in Gaza has developed has kind of given you a different perspective on geopolitics?
Bro, she doesn't give a fuck about the genocide in Gaza. She just wants to not fund Israel, and she's an isolationist. This person doesn't care.
Well, I think there's two parts to that question, and I appreciate your observation. In the beginning, the media was pretty rough on me, so it was hard for a lot of people to really understand who I am as a person. And when I ran for Congress in 2020, what a lot of people may not know is I actually ran criticizing the Republican Party. I had a lot of criticism of Republicans, and I said that many times on my campaign trail, so my district knows it full well. That is no surprise to them. I think the Republican Party fails in many ways, and I'm open about that. Now, when it comes to what's happening in Gaza, there's videos and pictures of what's happening to children that you just can't unsee. Mm-hmm. And anyone that has a heart and compassion for children and innocent people, I don't know how anyone can turn a blind eye to that. But I've also stated that October 7th was horrific, and I stand by those statements. I think both things are really bad. And then I talked to Christian pastors in Gaza, and they told me that the starvation of children is real. This is not war propaganda. This is not made up. And so it was taking some investigation and talking to people and looking deeply into actual evidence I'm seeing with videos and pictures. And I just can't unsee it. I think it's terrible, and that war it really truly needs to end.
There's a certain authenticity in the way you're reacting to it that I really value, because you look at so many politicians, and even in the face of mass atrocities, they're just robots. And so I really appreciate the fact that you've been speaking out against what's happening in Gaza. I'm sure that it has attracted all sorts of terrible attention toward you, but please keep doing what you're doing, because it's necessary. And I think that what's currently happening, because we're paying for it, we're aiding and abetting it. It's a stain. It's a stain on our country, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I just want to follow up on that real quick. So Representative Green, your reaction that Anna just described.
Look at the glaze fest. Look at what I'm talking about. Remember what I said before? Republicans and lefties, they all virtue signal and they all purity test. But the difference is the right purity tests around political power and the left purity tests around whatever autistic shit they get on their phones at night and tweet about. Marjorie Taylor Greene is counted as an in-group supporter person here, but the reason why is because the issue that they're purity testing on has to do with Israel Gaza, and that's enough for them to bring her on in softball. Now maybe this interview is going to get a lot tougher, as opposed to you know, any Democrat that these guys spend the majority of the program roasting the fuck out of.
Human reaction to seeing children, you know, being killed right in front of our eyes, and not a little bit, like tens of thousands of children, right, is a normal human reaction. But yet, it is not the reaction that an overwhelming majority of your colleagues,
it's the donor class,
are feeling apparently. So that what did you guys get? 6 votes last time for similar legislation, right? And so. Now, the media tells us that when you look at why, it's because Israel is apparently some special magical place, and that we owe them. I don't know why we owe them, but we're told all the time we owe them, right? And so I don't know that America ever did anything wrong to Israel. All America's ever done is support Israel over and over and over and over again, and even in the middle of a genocide. But still, apparently, we owe them, and it's offensive to suggest that we don't owe them. But yet again, the overwhelming majority of our colleagues say, no, we do owe Israel, and you are not allowed to criticize. You're not allowed to question their money, and so you've gotten attacked. And
you know what they really say, Cenk? Say what you really feel.
Be civil. Be civil. Don't do anything. Don't do anything.
Increase.
Exactly.
Tom has gotten attacked. Tom Massey. So real quick, I want to run down the possibilities. Media says money has nothing to do with it, though a lot of Americans think money has a lot to do with it. That AIPAC has given to 65% of Congress. The different Israel PAC supporting Israel have given to 90% of the members of Congress. So do you believe money is a factor in your colleagues' votes on this issue?
Well, this should be weighted, right?
I completely believe money is a factor. I watch it every single day here in Congress.
The
people that I work with, who they're funded by, affects their votes. Many of the doctors caucus during COVID, the doctors, many of them I served with on the COVID committee, they're very, very funded by Big
Elemental
Pharma.
damage should
and
be
they wouldn't
good.
talk about
I feel
the COVID
like I want to
vaccines.
weight that a little lower,
Wow. The doctors caucus was more pro-vax than
so that's
not.
Going to be percent increase elemental.
I wonder what's going on there. Definitely, it must.
Donor class.
Absolutely. No other possible way to explain that one, Chief.
Increased elemental
and
damage.
that was so disturbing to me. I think that's a very important topic and investigation that needs to happen, and I'm pursuing it right now as we speak. Many of the members that I serve with that are highly funded by the military-industrial complex, they're going to make sure that those government contracts and all of that gets funded. They believe in a war economy. And they will flat out tell us that they'll say, Marjorie, you have thousands of jobs in your district that rely on these government contracts. Well, you want to know something? I'm not very interested in funding an economy that's based on...
Quick aside, you spend a lot of time criticizing retards who just hate Israel. What do you think the U.S.'s position should actually be with them? The U.S. could force a lot of action from Israel. But the problem is that you need to have a leader who has a vision for the Middle East in terms of what Israel's place should be and how they should resolve conflicts. That's the big issue. So, like, I think the U.S. could theoretically exercise quite a bit of leverage on Israel, but you would need a leader who knows. You need a leader who understands what he wants Israel to do, and we just don't have that. I don't know if Biden didn't have a strong opinion about it, or he was like super pro-Zionist, or there's just a bunch of other shit going on domestically or not. But somebody has to have a vision for what that region should look like. What is your vision? That's what I'm asking. I mean, I would flex as much as possible to try to make both sides come to some kind of resolution, like force them to actually negotiate with each other. I would force Israel. The Palestinian Authority should be in charge of the Gaza Strip is one thing. I think that there needs to be a unified government between the Palestinians, and then you give a ton of aid to both sides, right? Gaza was the highest per capita recipient of aid in the world. And Israel gets a lot of money from the United States as well every year. Like, you have leverage. You've got the ability to force them to come to the table and negotiate on shit, so force them to do it.
On killing people, especially innocent people and children.
I love it.
And but yes, I do believe that AIPAC funding is very serious. I believe AIPAC needs to register under FARA. I've openly
you have to prove that they're getting foreign funding, and that wouldn't just be them registering under FARA. Then you'd probably prosecute them for crimes because they have unreported foreign donations going the whole time. It's not good.
In about 3 weeks, the government's funding will run out. Democrats will face a choice.
My weighted filter here.
Join Republicans to fund a government that Trump is turning into a tool of authoritarian takeover and vengeance, or shut the...
I don't want to watch the Ezra Klein video. I do appreciate what he's been up to. Ezra Klein is just basically sounding the alarm every week. Not much else you can do in this situation. Air Force 2? I've never heard of that before. Alright, let's see. Oh yeah, we'll finish this.
than we ever had in PoE1. So that I would
Honestly,
say that.
don't disagree.
Honestly,
I think like it's a reasonable thing to say.
On this one specifically, I like one of the things I really like about it is that you can basically check whether or not you hit the thing you want before you move on. I like that, right? It's like
over 10,000.
I'm just gonna check if I hit this movement speed. If I don't, I'll just chuck the item,
50?
and it's a low risk chance to check something on an item that's almost there and to see if I want to continue.
Attack damage.
So not even if you're even
damage
just
with quarter
doing the full
stance.
item, it's just like a check is just nice.
All right.
That's kind of how
not
I've been
bad.
using them sometimes as well. But yeah, I like them.
I don't know where. I guess I didn't add the picture for these guys, but
Immune to
Omen
main.
of the Sovereign, and this ties into the Abyss crafting items themselves. So the Abyss crafting items themselves allow you to add we'll just call them veiled affixes, which is an unknown affix to an item to an extent. They're broken down into like different item types, so that they're different prices. Like you can do it to a jewelry, and that one's a bit expensive, and you can do it to an armor piece or a weapon or something. But there's something for everything there. And then you go to the pit, toss it in, and you get presented with 3 options.
Just gonna make sure.
And you get to pick one of the 3
before I waste
options.
money here.
So, I guess we should probably start with Abyss crafting overall before we dip into the Omen modification of it. How do you guys like the Abyss unveiling crafting process and the impacts it's having on making items?
I think it's great. I like the using it feels good. The double tap as well. If you know it's something that you care about, and double tapping, and then I think one of the things it kind of forces you to do is be open to settle. And I think that's like that's a core thing that really needs to be emphasized in PoE and be taught to the player, is this like the needing to settle. So I think that part from the that part I really like.
I wonder if anybody's
I mean,
gonna
obviously you can
respond to
remove
that.
it and go again, but that's a really expensive thing to do. You need like the leech thing.
I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
Pretty rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only complaint I
go
have
ahead.
with the Ulaman and all these, some items it doesn't work on.
Yeah, it's bugged.
It's actually bugged.
Yeah, that's annoying. I think I had something
Apparently
else.
you can like, so there are, what the guys are talking about, there's the situations where you try to use these things on something where it should work and it just says nope in chat. You get a little message that says, nope. And apparently there's some cases where you can spam click and it'll eventually work, because it's
Really?
like trying to roll
That's
something
for-
that is
I mean, that's if it's
non-functional.
right? Oh.
Yeah.
Crystal,
It's like, it's trying to hit the wrong thing and it fails, and you can keep doing it until you hit the right thing. That's really weird. Obviously, some bugs to fix there.
Yeah.
But so this is Abyss in my mind is and it's not always the case, but it is the 4th modifier on items. So you've got your 2 from the magic that we talked about. You got your guaranteed regal essence, and then you got your 4th modifier, your Abyss. Now you might not necessarily do it right then, but that's kind of the idea there, is that it allows you to get an item with 4 modifiers where like the first 2
Here we go.
are very good, and because it's the
12%
first 2, you
elemental
can kind of make
damage,
sure that they're
3%
the
attack
ones you want.
speed.
The essence is exactly what you want. And then this
14%
one
increased damage with quarter
has a very
staff.
good
Something like
chance
this
of
is
being
really
what you
good
want,
for
but there's
one
going to be some
exalt.
variance, and you might settle for something
Don't think
that
I'm gonna beat
is
that.
a bit different but still good. That's what I really like about this, is that it makes that 4th modifier within reach have interesting variance.
Of course, this is just more
Be a little
flat
different.
damage.
Like the modifiers are weird. Some of the modifiers are weird. I think that's a very good place for it to be on that 4th modifier.
I think it's so much more than just
Should
a
I just
4th modifier. I
spend
feel
more?
like it's a legitimate crafting tool in terms of, one, you can use it as just throwing it on, guaranteed this has a high chance of being something at least semi-good, because it's like an Exalt Orb where you get to roll 3 times and pick, or if you do the Echoes, you get to pick out of like 6 affixes. But not only that, but using it as a basically tool in combination with the other stuff to try to add tags to force like homogenize or to block affixes, stuff like that. I think it's very versatile. I think that's what I like about it, is you can use it in very many steps of the crafting process.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, oh, I just found a good 5 mod item. Let's finish it off with a desecration.
All right, let's do this.
That I think is very cool as well. So you did mention it, and
this is worth 10.
This is where I'm sure
Why
many
not?
of our alarm bells start to trigger a lot more.
Why gimp myself
with
for no
these
reason?
particular omens? The omens of homogenization. And there's a couple of these, but what these do is for a specific crafting step. So we've got 2 examples here. One is when you use a regal orb, and one is when you use an exalted orb. For that specific crafting step, it will look at the tags on the existing modifiers of an item. So every modifier in the game, well, not even, many modifiers in the game have tags. And those tags will be things like fire, cold, lightning, life, attack, physical, etc.
301.
It will look at those existing tags, and it will only be able to craft other modifiers with that crafting step that match those
that's
tags
a big damage
that
boost.
currently exist on the item.
84.
And what Lance was touching on there, and where the power from this comes from, is the fact that you can be sure of what tags exist, and you can do some specific order of crafting or specific steps to ensure that there is very few possible outcomes, or even just one outcome, and you know exactly what you're going to get. So, good example is energy shield gear typically. Right and Lance has got a good gift to show us in a minute as well. With other things like this, where if you make it so that there's only defense tags, and any other tags that exist couldn't have an impact on adding an extra prefix. Let's say you're exalting your final prefix. You've got 2 really good energy shield modifiers, and then you've got like some resistances on the suffixes. So you've got like fire, cold, lightning on the suffixes, or resistance tags. None of those affect any of the prefixes, because there are no prefixes on energy shield gear
I'm about to get
that have those tags,
as well.
Right? So you've just got the defense tag. You know that you're going to get defense. You look at the modifier list. Literally only one possible option is the last energy shield modifier. So you can guarantee that you're doing that. And this couples with other things like greater exalts in some cases to force the tier of that up, or perfect exalts.
So powerful
and,
now.
There's even like an omen to like double exalts. So I've seen people double exalt slamming like 2 energy shield mods at the same time with this.
I don't know how to get
be a bit more like cost effective, I guess.
Yep.
So obviously very powerful. Not evenly powerful though. Some things benefit from this more than others. Have you guys used these guys that much, or what do you think about the impacts of this one on crafting? I think Lance, you've touched on them the most.
Actually,
probably.
I'll tell you
I've probably used that omen more than like 300 times or something. For me, this omen is probably my favorite thing they added, but it's also the thing where I'm like, this feels like cheater gear a little bit, because you also times or something. For me, this omen is probably.
Some things benefit from this more than others. Have you guys used these guys that much, or what do you think about the impacts of this one on crafting? I think Lance, you've touched on them the most probably.
I've probably used that omen more than like 300 times or something. For me, this omen is probably my favorite thing they added, but it's also the thing where I'm like, this feels like cheater gear a little bit, because you can, for so many gear pieces, force on like your S tier affix. And I don't really want them to change it, because there's a lot of like fun things you can do in terms of like planning out what way you're going to go about building out your item. I think the one thing I would like to see in terms of like maybe drawing it back just a little bit is if we had more affixes in the pool, or just a little bit wider range of tiers, so it wasn't just 100% I am forcing on the best S tier affix as one of my like 5th steps of a craft, because it's like when you get to go to have your first 2 affixes pretty much guaranteed at the start, into your 3rd affix, which is pretty kind of guaranteed, into the I can force on 2 S tier affixes that are rare, hard to hit normally. That's when it's just like, this was way too easy, or something like that, maybe, in terms of power. And can I pull the GIF on the show, for example?
Yeah, the GIF. Sure.
Okay, let me.
I'll probably have to.
Yeah, I got you.
You pull it on. All right.
You gotta just chuck potions for now.
Right now. But this is one of the examples I think of, which
I'll start focusing on getting
hitting,
mana.
forcing on +3 amulets, which normally that mod is weighted at like 150 weight, which is, for context, a very low weighting. It's very hard to hit. And this is a step-by-step process I could do where I could make basically what would have been comparable to like mirror tier amulets in the previous patch, and I'm just forcing this outcome of I have the right tags on there already with cast speed. That gives me that caster tag, and there's no other caster affix but +3, and it's the only mod that can occur with a perfect result. And that level is where I feel like it's a little bit approaching item editor, and this was too easy. So I think some level of difficulty added through a bit more affixes in the pool to like add some variance to it, just some degree. But overall,
you're like double exalting crit damage at the exact same time on each of those 3 amulets, right?
Yeah.
See, I disagree with that though, because then the people that have all the currency just buy the currency they need to re-roll until they get the right items. And then the people with limited currency that are only able to do this shit like once or twice before they run out are screwed.
Yes. The crit damage is also guaranteed because I have a damage tag from the spell damage. And then after this, I go on to like guarantee remove spell damage and force it into global defense. And the last affix is a desecrate, which also has very high controllability to be good. But it's like... it feels like a cheater item, but at the same time, it is probably my favorite omen by far, because it's the thing that makes you think about how you're going to build this item out, and it makes the crafting in PoE2 feel like this nice little puzzle where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to craft this today. Let me look at the affixes I can hit. What's the order of operations where I could do this, and that is a very satisfying process. I'm just maybe feeling like it's a bit too easy currently, or if there's a little bit more limitations on. If there were more affix tags being on different places, it would make it a little bit less forcible.
Yes, it seems like there'd be a lot of work for them in kind of like making sure that every scenario of every mod combination on every item has multiple options there. Like, that seems like it's going to be the dog chasing its tail to some extent. It's really hard for them to actually do. So I do definitely see if anything is going to get mega nerfed or removed, just outright removed, I do see it being these guys. Because they're definitely the one that stands out. They're the nail that's kind of standing up.
I think they shouldn't. I think they shouldn't over-nerf these or remove them. I think that really figuring out the tag system and perfecting that, I think, like, the harder thing to do is what they should do. The easy thing to do is just to nerf them and remove them, but this is where, like, commit to making the best crafting system in the game. Commit to this, because they go like they go too far and then they pull it all the way back, and it's like this whiplash of crafting systems that we've been used to for the last 10 years. And at this point, it's like, you've had good ideas so many times. Commit to a system and make it the perfect setup for the game. And I think they've basically nailed it. I'm honestly so like impressed with everything they've done with crafting this time around. I'm like, so just please do not whiplash. Like, all they need to do with this plus gem level is remove the caster tag. Then it's a unique. It goes down with Fallen it's a unique one. You can't homogenize, and you don't get this, so you have to start with gem first. Like, then that thing becomes special. You could fracture it. There's all sorts of things you can do, and you have to protect it. But you could go all the way still with all the other things. So yeah, I'm really just for once don't whiplash like these decisions around like crafting. I'm growing. I'm getting old. I'm growing tired.
Nope.
Stop making me learn new systems.
No, it's not like
I'm not gonna go as far as Nugi and say I think PoE2 system is better, but I'm definitely agree with Nugi in that I hope it's something where they try to do it a more moderate approach of balancing it, because it is such a fun thing to figure out and try to work with, and like I said, it's my favorite currency of the things they've added this patch, and
they're really fun.
So
I do think there's a world in which they could polish up the tagging system, modifier options, and kind of tweak the tiers and values and things of these and get this right. And I could see it being like mechanically, I love what they've done mechanically here. So I like what Nugi said, like the harder option may well be the correct one here. And I think that the biggest issue with this crafting overall, though, is just that overwhelmingness of all the little bits and seeing your options and understanding how they interact, and then also the communication of what they can achieve. So with this case, with the homogenizing ones, you can see tags in game, I believe, and hold Alt. So you can see what tags are currently in your item, but there's no way in game to see what tags are available, like for the rest of the modifiers.
Yes.
That you have to go to Path of Exile for. So there is no actual way to ever use these without referencing, your third-party websites. And if they want to make this
trial and error a little bit.
Trial and error. Good luck with that one.
Imagine this. You picture a scenario where I did look at PODB and I still managed to slam on affixes I wasn't supposed to with, the expensive thing because I didn't double, triple check. Like, oh, that tag was there.
Well, when I was learning this system, I made a really stupid one like that where I was like, yeah, the crossbows work just the same as defense gear. I have physical tags. There's only one physical modifier left. You know what realize? I forgot about the attack tag. Every single fucking modifier has the attack tag. Why does it even exist? If every mod is an attack mod, why then no mod is an attack mod, right? Like, what is even the point of that? So I just perceptually filtered it out because it was on every single affix.
Yep.
So yes,
like
even when you were looking
spot.
at it, it's possible to make mistakes with that. But yeah, so some sort of presentation of like, oh hey, this is the modifier options that you have to roll. Like it shows you that this is the 3 things that you could get. It doesn't have to show the percentage chance of getting them, just like these are your options. So presentation could be improved, balance could be improved, but it seems like we all are pretty enthusiastic on the actual mechanics of these suckers.
Now that we're all fucking twinked out,
the modifiers from the Abyss Lords, the Abyssal Lords, apart from them being bugged, how do you guys feel about that system? It does seem like there's, both with these and the homogenizing, not really very even application of crafting power gain between all builds. Energy shield. Rich get richer with energy shield in many cases, it seems.
Just use that for
Is there any other
bosses.
thoughts to add on this, or any of the other parts of crafting that we maybe you have missed?
I missed the question.
So the last thing that we kind of haven't touched on too much, I guess we kind of did touch on the Abyss Lord. Do you guys have anything to add about like the Abyss Lord crafting, or any other experiences? Or I haven't mentioned recombination at all. I kind of
my tie-in with the Abyss
now I
Lord
gotta think
affixes,
about
what
where
I
I'm
like
going.
about them is they give you, part of the reason why I like Abyss currency so much is the combination with the homogenizing exalts is it gives you a whole affix list of abnormal tags where you can be like, oh, I would never care about this affix specifically on this item, but I roll it on with the desecrate so I can then homogenize slam on this other thing that doesn't have a pairing in terms of what tag it has, and then I can remove it later and use it somewhere else.
I'm very glad you pointed that out. I need to make a note on that because, so talking with Jonathan, that they said that they finally identified what it is in Path of Exile 1 crafting that they didn't want to replicate in Path of Exile 2, and that was blocking, like placing affixes just for the sole purpose of blocking what else can roll.
Hey, shh. Shut it. That's good. That's a good part. What do you mean?
It seems like that's happening here, though. So it does seem like there was some oversights in that regard. Because that was very explicit. What they didn't want to do. You guys agree with that stance that that's like a problematic thing, this sort of blocking? Or you just love it because it's powerful?
I think it's one of the best parts of crafting.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with blocking something. I mean, I can see it if it becomes the whole system revolves around doing this, sure. But it happening every now and then, I mean...
It does seem like fundamentally tied to kind of...
I feel like it's rewarding you for taking time to learn the system, where you feel like I did something that was the right thing to do that improved my odds.
Like, where's the blocking right now,
Yeah.
PoE2?
Well,
Lead me through an example.
Talking about.
Yeah, just...
Well, but I mean, it's not really blocking. It's putting it on to use it to tag an affix. Is what I was describing.
Right?
Yeah, it's not exactly wrong. I feel like it's the same kind of thing though. Is like you're placing a modifier just to remove it.
Blocking is
for the
more
purpose of
when you have
another
crafting
modifier.
bench and you're like, I'm gonna slam, but I don't want to hit mana, so I craft mana. But that doesn't. I don't think that really happens in theory 2, or at least I don't think I've done that in theory 2.
Because then you have to like, go
craft.
through the removal again, and that's expensive. Right? You don't want that extra modifier. Like it's a step you do not want to add. I think.
Yep. Whereas in PoE 1, you just remove crafted mods
Yeah, I don't
and then
really
you're good to
know
go.
if it is a problem personally either. Like when they said
It's
that was
like
their
cost
kind
a
of thing that
scour
they
and an
didn't want
exalt
to
or
do.
something.
I still kind of don't get it.
Scour and a
as to
chaos.
why that would be the line, I guess. But what I do not like about it though is that it's like so obtuse compared to what I do like. Like an example of a similar sort of manipulation mechanic that I do like is the Sinistral Dextral. You know that it's going to hit prefixes or suffixes. That kind of manipulation I like a lot more because it's much more evident what's going to happen. Whereas
I think I'm going to say this because chat's pointed out it's a good example of blocking, which is, I saw Sushi did this for when he was crafting his mirror tier Fizzbow was he forced on the high tier accuracy affix, which is a high item level, which allowed him to whittle. But I feel like that's also super niche because that's literally a scenario where you're talking about a mirror tier craft and re-rolling that affix with that. But that is an example of a blocking scenario.
I see stuff like that and I'm like, cool, clever. If it's not happening like at mid-tier crafts, I think I don't really care, honestly, with stuff like that.
Maybe that's where Jonathan cares, I guess, in terms of blocking. I don't know what the context was when he was talking about
I don't know exactly on that one. I'll have to ask him next time. All right, so there's probably something to be talked. Yeah, I think we can probably move on from crafting unless you guys have something to add. It seems like overall we're pretty enthused mechanically. Just need some balance and some communication improvements, which I could see happening. Excellent.
I think we're right on our timeline for a 3-hour podcast.
Oh god, let's speed things along then. We won't talk too much on endgame because it's been established that like it's not really much point in waxing on about like towers and stuff like that because the next expansion is the big endgame thing. So until they start talking about that, there's really not too much to say. The main thing is just I guess that they have a lot of new content this time around, a lot of new maps and unique maps and things like that, and Abyss as content. How do you guys feel about the new content? Just kind of very briefly.
Way better than the past new content patches they've done, I feel like. Well, I mean, I'm just comparing to Izmiri Spirits, but for me, the Spirits were this thing that I just want to run past. I don't like at all. And Abyss is, I'm happy to jump in. I'm enjoying fighting it. It's a bit too visual heavy, makes computer lag. The only way I crash in this game is usually related to Abyss maps. But aside from that, I think it's a pretty big winner in terms of mechanic that I want to engage with. It's rewarding. It has some fun stuff going on, and has some cool crafting tied to it. So like I like it overall. Maybe the one criticism I would give outside of like the visual stuff is the boss was pretty disappointing. It felt like it had this cool build up to it, and then it just was like not a very I didn't feel like it was a super interesting fight.
Bosses in the campaign were way better.
Is it a tiered one where like there's like a lower tier of it and then later
Mermaid and the prisoner guy were way cooler.
You just like fight it 5 times over, and it has like it doesn't really do much until the last version of it. I felt like.
I do feel like that sort of design is anticlimactic.
Like you just fight the same 1.5 million punching bag 4 times, and then the real fight happens, but it's also a little bit like kind of visually clutterish in terms of like what's going on, if that makes sense. I don't know, but I've just if I was gonna give a criticism to Abyss League, that's what it would be. It would be that fight.
Any other thoughts about endgame?
Well, we can start with Abyss. So I also really like Abyss in maps. I think it's, I mean, yes, it's laggy. A lot of things in the game are laggy. A lot of things in the game are visually cluttering. And that's a whole topic in and of itself. I think we should have one day. So we'll leave it at that. But it is fun. I like putting things in, they pop out.
Tempest Flurry is a combo of 4 lightning attacks. The third attack strikes 3 times, and the fourth calls down a powerful bolt that has a high chance to shock enemies. Shocked enemies take more damage.
Yeah, okay, let me try this. instead of Falling Thunder. Might as well switch to Herald of Thunder while we're at it.
Lots of modifiers, and you know it's dangerous. I like that, so good. The Waystone stuff I really enjoyed. The modifiers you can put on there. Is because like it makes you really look forward to your next big Abyss map, or it just makes another map like a little bit more special. So I really liked those. On the boss, for the Abyss boss, I think the final stage is actually really good. I think it very much ties into what the Abyss is, because it's a lot of darkness and things. I think thematically it really worked. I think, were there a time where there wasn't a health bar from the last boss? Was that intended? When
I think it always had a health bar.
So no. So if you respawn a checkpoint while you're fighting him, he doesn't have a bar in the second try. I'm like, that actually is kind of cool. You don't know how far you've gotten him. You're in the Abyss. It's pure darkness.
Sounds like a bug, but
honestly, yeah, I feel like it could be a mechanic. Like for the last bit, right? You get pulled into the Abyss. The first three are like they're so mild. Like what? It's I agree with that.
Noogie, did you play hardcore? Did you ever get the laser bug? Just out of curiosity.
Laser bug?
Where the laser, it's like a degen laser. Did you ever have it where it's stuck on you and you literally had to just leave the fight until it...
No?
I'm assuming you didn't, because it was a bug where these lasers
like
that do a pretty heavy degen, that would just last forever. And it would just kill you, or you'd have to like leave.
Oh no.
So you probably didn't
happen. The bug didn't happen. But the fight is... I like the fight. And like dodging through the mirrors and everything, and like managing the balls that follow you and the slam that comes in all the time. The thing is, you play an overpowered build, so you don't actually know how the fight feels.
Yeah, that is fair. I have no idea what the fight is. That is probably a large amount of my criticism.
So I think it's a bit of a that's honestly that's like we'll talk about that later. But yeah, no, as content, I thought the Abyss content was just overall. I don't like the Abyssal Depths though too much. They're kind of bland. They're always the same. They have the same layout. You go the same way.
Very rewarding though.
It's fine.
Found them quite juicy.
Yeah, I mean it can be, but I don't know. I find them like, okay, maybe it's gonna drop one of the orbs, and everything else is just kind of boring. Because like it's a lot to go down there. Everything is always the same. It's the same like setup every time. I don't know. That was kind of boring. So I liked it better in PoE 1, where you didn't really know when there was a boss, unless you knew that you needed to look at the loading screen. But that part where it's like you don't really know what you're gonna find in the Abyss, I think that should extend to the Abyssal Depth. And at any point where you find it, like the fixed layout, I think is bad for that one.
I can see them expanding that out with a bit more variance in the future. Seems like a really good start for Abyss, though. Abyss, yeah, pretty stoked on Abyss overall. Like apart from performance and visibility issues, it's just a game broad thing. I'm also rather keen on just how much content they're beefing out the end game with, and just to add the variety. Like we've got a lot of map tile sets, a lot of unique maps, things like that. There's bigger things to do with exploration. Exploration for me is a key of what I think will make this end game feel good long term. But for now, at least, I feel like there's like 2 or 3 things on screen I want to go look at whenever I'm, revealing a new tower or something like that. There's always some breadcrumb for me to follow, and that I think is a really good starting point for that. So it's definitely picking up there. The addition of sprint helped a bit, But I definitely, my biggest problem with Endgame right now is that it takes a long ass time to do anything if you're prone to distraction or have limited gaming time. Like I am, both of those things have been me a lot this time. It feels like you can spend a lot of time doing nothing and getting nowhere. Some maps just take a really freaking long time to do, especially when it's just to clear out the rares and, you know, there's 50 of them. It's a gigantic ass map. And then there's various other bits of content in there. It's going to slow it down a little bit more. And it's more problematic when that is just not that interesting content, when it's some travel maps full of stuff without much going on. So just the pace at which it takes to move around and get to the interesting stuff feels like a big investment. And yeah, I mean, I definitely walked away from a day where I was just like, oh, I did nothing. I got nothing done. 3-hour session.
You know, we need Siggy.
What's that?
We need sprint for the Atlas.
Get me sprinting on the Atlas as well. I mean, more ways of maneuvering around or changing travel.
Speedier maneuvering.
It's actually decent.
Do we really need to run the nothing on the maps all the like? Is that really the tax we need to put on players all the time, like to maneuver over?
I want bosses in like every map, and
it's like no.
And if you're gonna travel, make like a dedicated travel map that's like a really quick, fun encounter, like an ambush on the road or a bridge that you have to battle across, or just a boss fight. Like it's just something quick that you do, just something snappy, and that gets you a boop, bam around, and then you to your next juicy big map.
Here's what you add to Abyss. Abysses connect to other abysses.
Oh yeah, tunnel around the Atlas.
Yes.
You know, how do I unlock my car? Is there a certain town I have to go to so I can like restore the car and then drive that around, like in Fallout 2 or whatever it was? Get my vehicle to drive around the map, please. Can we just ride the Eagles into Mordor? So what's going on here? Okay, we're gonna try and speed things through because I feel like some of these topics have the risk of going very long. State of defenses and warrior and some of our predictions. Firstly, let's talk about the predictions we made previously. One of them was about deflect. The question was, will deflect be easily capped? I think we all said no, right?
Yes. Actually, I don't know. We didn't do. So here's the thing: we didn't actually do anything.
Oh, we didn't actually do it.
You made a decision to say, "Hey, the way the conversation went, we don't have enough information, so we're not going to make any predictions."
He has receipts.
Yes.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
That's
what
why I didn't write anything.
Did we make
on
a prediction on
What
non-evasion builds using deflect? I feel like I definitely made a prediction on that.
Level 14 gloves I can find here.
I think we wanted to make the prediction, but I think we forgave all of the. I can look it up again. I'll speed. I was watching the whole thing.
I want to get a point on the board, man, because I totally called deflect being used by non-evasion builds, and I would just like to say my armor-based tactician with no evasion is using deflect and loving it. So I guess I can segue from that into a discussion of like. We know ES is crazy. That's fine. Lance is on his quest to get 40k ES. He'll do it soon. That's a whole thing. But I think the biggest surprise from chatting to you guys, 3 days. Okay. Chatting to you guys is that armor good? Question mark. So armor actually feeling good now. I am certainly feeling pretty good with the defensive layers of armor. Elemental taken to armor and deflect on tacticians feels really good. And I think you guys have been saying similar, right?
Yes.
Thoughts on armor, Noogie?
Armor's great. Armor is currently the best defense. Well, not in terms of power, because power is like you can't win when it comes to actual like power. Power is not a good metric because like it's like the game doesn't like it's not balanced. Like it's why we say balance is poor because there's too much power on a certain defense. Yes. Now armor. For what it does is actually it makes the game fun. And working into armor makes the game even more fun. The fantasy of armor is almost there all the way. The only thing that makes it a little bit weird though is like, if you think about armor, you also think about tanking a bit hit. That doesn't really exist. So there is a gap there. Otherwise, that's probably where God comes in, but I don't maybe you can talk to that. I haven't seen guard being very effective. I look at the things. It's such a brief thing. So Lance and I had a big discussion about this yesterday. Well, like in terms of like who gets to pay the price of, you know, reaction or
all right, POEDB.
Prevention, right? So basically what we're saying is that energy shield,
I don't need
the way
to do
energy
this.
shield works
What am I
is
fucking doing?
you have a huge pool.
We're just gonna go for...
Which means when you take big hits, that should put you in danger, but you have a panic button.
Go for some energy
So
shield.
it basically goes, you take big hits, I recover everything, I could fuck up in the most imaginable way, and I always have an out. It's your get out of jail free card. However, when you look at armor and every build that doesn't have the pool, then it is you need to predict and anticipate. So you need to actually play the game to not get blown up, right? You need to click you're playing whatever build it is. Well, specifically on Warbringer, they have the node where you guard, or any build that uses guard. You have to know something is coming and then defend yourself.
Okay.
And if you don't do it, you're done. And I think that's weird. I think that's like the one gap we have right now. Either the recovery doesn't exist, like the out does not exist for energy shield, or that needs to be an equivalent state where you have more access to the on-demand I can tank big hit.
Oh, I should do
like
rapid attacks.
One of them have to exist. So I think that's the
instead
gap
of crescendo, I think.
But armor overall, as like you put it on, it feels good.
Let's see that.
Armor is good now.
Glacial Cascade, we want to keep.
I think this might be about out of left field and may not expect this, but I'm gonna harp on the
Falling Thunder
fact
we're not
that
using anymore.
Outside of ES just needing nerfs in general, I have never been on the page of thinking that not having percent life on tree is good. I always thought life nodes were an interesting opportunity cost where you could choose to do something that could actually help your max hit for bigger hits, like saying, I'm going to make my character actually have some HP. I'm going to sacrifice some damage. And for me, I feel like that's the big element outside of ES numbers needing to go down. But that's another big gap in you have no way to make your max hit really that sufficient because you just can't get HP. You can't get a sufficient number to deal with some of those bigger hits. And for armor, I will say I'm somewhat convinced, yes, it does deal with the shotgunning, the onslaught damage, which is a large amount of how you die in PoE currently. So it does help you in a significant amount of events, but I still think it's very much lacking in the bigger hit mechanics where you just, if you don't dodge, you are kind of just dead. And if you had something like HP where you could raise your max hit more effectively, then you could have a way to deal with that.
Can I come in with an actually though here? That's a good thing.
Yes.
Actually though? Hold on, I need to move this.
Oh yeah, now we're talking. That's much better.
The needing to deal with the hits and the actually being vulnerable is a key component to PoE 2, and it has to exist. So it's why I say armor is so good, because it leaves you vulnerable to red attacks, more or less. And I think that's a good thing, because it.
Do you think you should ever be able to invest into a point where you tank it? Sorry, Zig.
At the
I think like it's fine for there to be ridiculous edge cases where you can do the crazy things with more
investment. I mean, sure, like edge cases, and you can like set yourself up. This thing, what we're talking about with Arbiter Slam that we're gonna like look at later. Sure. I mean, if you specialize and you do that, okay, you can get away with it. But as a general rule, to where all content becomes non-lethal, I think that should actually not exist in PoE 2. Like if you want to go to the highest tier of content, but then if you want, you can still exist with someone who can never be in lethal range, but you need to lower the difficulty. So you run less dangerous mods. You can still probably run them for profit, but it's up to you whether or not you want to go for a lethal, like a playstyle that demands attention or not. It doesn't mean that it doesn't generate the same amount of currency. And I think this is important. the lethality should not necessitate reward all the time. Because that's often what happens, and I think that's not great.
Let me try to. I want to try to give you something to convince you otherwise about. You shouldn't be able to tank the lethality. What about the aspect of you're playing the game and maybe you can sacrifice all your damage to become this tank that does get to beat that thing, but then you've sacrificed something for it. You've sacrificed some damage, you've sacrificed some mobility. Is there not an element where somebody who does say, I'm going to go full on to a tank, shouldn't they be able to say, I invested into this, should I get rewarded for it?
So this comes up all the time, the whole like, I invested, therefore I am essentially owed something. And it's the same, and I think it's a bit of a problem, it happened in PoE1 as well, where it's like, surely my investment scales my reward infinitely, right? Linear like level of, if I keep increasing difficulty, I keep increasing my reward, and it basically means that at some point, only the most powerful builds actually generate the right amount of currency, and everything else feels like you're paying a tax for a bad build. And so I think I don't think it's a good argument, because that kind of flows over there. But I like defense. I like it when you can build out to what you're saying, you can get to a niche and you feel like you're an immortal god. I actually am with you there, but I think that needs to be...
But you don't want to be able to tank the... You don't think they should ever be able to tank the big thing?
Well, it depends on at which stage, right? Are we talking Uber fights where it's like, well... Sure, I mean, to some... like, you can tank it, but I think that needs to be... That's more of a Uber fight design, say, where... Then there needs to be checks to where you can tank it once, twice, but if you continue to do it, then maybe you start getting checked.
I think you just agreed with me, Noogie. I think you just said you should be able to invest in the tank and then tank it.
You should be able to invest into tank, but it can't be that it's like that. There's never something to consider at the highest tier content. There needs to be something where it's like characters get checked. I think that's just
the perfect
kind
time
of
for our prediction.
I think
results.
that's just part of PoE 2, no? Like, what is the point of red attacks if they don't matter?
Well, because if you're not completely spec'd into it...
Well, it's like, at what level should they matter?
You have to deal with it.
Type of thing, right? Like, they should be something that's definitely...
At the very highest tier, shouldn't they matter?
Well, it's a progression thing. Like, how far is your character progressed?
Yes.
Like, it's... Like, a red attack's gonna matter at the early stage when you're in Act 1, your character has no gear, but then let's say you overgeared for it, all of a sudden that GNR red attack doesn't matter, right? Because you spent time to overgear for it, you super safed it, and now your character's overgeared for this content. It shouldn't matter at that point because you're outgeared it, right?
Yes.
To some extent. Or do you think the person that overgeared and overprepared, they should still just die?
No. This is why I specifically say at the highest tier of content all the time. There needs to be an auto limit.
You just like an auto kill?
No, like auto. It's like you. Like, let's say Uber Arbiter. Yes, you can get it so that you can like tank 1, maybe 2. Like, realistically, you shouldn't tank any of his like biggest hits, but you can do it. But I think it's bad whenever you end up in a situation where you tank every single one of them and the fight basically doesn't exist anymore. I think it's good that you can get to the point of power where like the one thing you are absolutely not supposed to eat, you eat it. You maybe eat it twice if you have a really good character. 3 times now you're pushing it. Like that's the level of balance I am hoping for, to where it's like once you get to the top level of gear and you go to the top level content, there is some level of like check, either through skill or through gear. Like if you get 3 outs, that's a huge deal from having no outs. That is
I think in a large amount, I agree with you. The check should be very hard, but for me, I've always liked the idea of there's this incredibly hard hit, and whatever build you make normally cannot do it.
Yes.
But it's like kind of some like goal thing where eventually maybe if it's not tankable now, okay, maybe next patch we'll get some other things that I can try to make a better character.
Right.
Maybe I can beat it next time. But like, I don't think it should be on auto kill. I think there should be. It can be a ridiculously high number. Yeah. No, I was just using that term in terms of like, if you can beat it once, and your character consistently can recover or whatever, you're gonna beat it repeatedly. And you were saying it should. You can't beat it 3 times in a row. Or you're like, not necessarily those words, but you get what I'm saying.
No.
Like if you can beat it once,
tank the big ability, right? Where it's like,
yeah,
if
like
you
the
keep
corridor
failing a
phase,
mechanic,
it happened like 7 times in a row.
Yeah, then you probably die.
At the risk of like extending the discussion to infinity, there's another like aspect of the kind of combat balance that is often been problematic for Path of Exile, and that's attrition, that's recovery. So there are situations where this whole discussion can be a bit more nuanced if you get to a position where like you can tank that slam, but hey, the attrition that costs you still means that it's probably still better to try and dodge it if you can. There aren't many situations where that is the case in Path of Exile, never in Path of Exile 1, and almost never in Path of Exile 2, I think. Except for situations where I guess where they brute force it or something where it's like anti-healing from Maven, which just never feels good. So do you guys feel like there's a bit of a, should the game be pushing towards more attrition and restricted recovery? I mean, certainly I think for Energy Shield it should be a thing to look at.
I don't think I ever liked the mechanics where they can turn off your recovery.
Yeah.
Like I'm down for mechanics like Shaper Ground, where it makes the arena worse, it's more dangerous, but I don't think it should be able to. I'm never a fan of this recovery method you chose to invest into doesn't work now, whereas this other recovery method does work. It's like an auto pass fail depending on what recovery method you chose. Like an instant recovery versus not.
So we talked about how bad it is to like run out of mana charges for your flask in the campaign. I think like, and that even extends to life flasks in the campaign in a lot of cases. But I wonder in endgame, like pinnacle content, whether running out of life flask charges and not being able to recover them is, and like that actually being a thing that you care because you've like, oh shit, I've screwed up like 6 times. Now I actually don't have much recovery left over. Is that like a cool like soft fail case that would add tension stakes to a lot of this stuff? Maybe deepen the discussion on defense stacking and what should be tankable and what's not?
Just realized.
I feel like the
quarter staff
health
attack,
flask is such a limited it's such a limited scope on the totality of PoE defense and
rapid
like
attacks
how the game plays. It's like if it all comes down to the health flask, I feel like okay, maybe
I should have rapid attacks
there
3
should be a bit more going on. It's like because characters also they have leech or like recovery, and like you need to find the opportunity to get back to leech, and like maybe you're low on health, and I mean surely it's not just the health flask. I mean you do run into issues on certain builds like where it's like if you're not really on the power curve, like yeah, you start getting checked on whether or not you have your potion available, and it starts getting difficult. I think that's fine. I don't think that it should be tied around specifically the flask. I think it'll be a bit boring.
I don't necessarily mean the flask. I just mean recovery in general. So like, for example, if leech and regen was much slower and weaker, it would feel really bad right now in the rest of the game. But in pinnacle content, that could feel kind of good, where it's like, oh man, I just got hit. For the next 30 seconds, I have to be real careful because it's going to take me a while to recover. Whereas that's kind of not really the case, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I feel like. I think honestly that I feel like more of that would be better because it feels very binary right now. Depending on some builds have this occurring, but then there are other builds where it feels very binary. It's like I'm either alive all the time or not.
So we had a prediction as to whether someone would tank Arbiter on life. And Noogie and I both voted yes, it can be done, but we kind of got trapped because we realized afterwards, we were like, oh man, there's no way it happens in like the first week. Oops. I still reckon that by the end of the league, we'll be vindicated that someone will tank Arbiter Gigantic Slam on live.
Yeah,
by the end of the league, but we got baited, so we don't get a point there.
Wait,
got outplayed.
No. Wait, hold on. Is chat saving us?
What?
Business did it.
That was bug abuse is what that was. That wasn't tanking. That was a there was a specific mob you could specter that would give you a permanent invulnerability aura.
Okay, yes, we did qualify
That's not tanking it.
No, that's not tanking
yes.
it. It's not using the mechanics
having an invulnerability
of armor
aura is not tanking on life.
No.
Your life did nothing. You could have had one life, wouldn't have made a difference.
Do you know
I
the
think we
max
could
hit
just
of the ability, Lance? Like how hard is it
I
actually
think
hit?
it's in the range of 100k fire.
Yeah, that's my guess. Like 80 to 100. Because I
It
know...
seems possible.
Yeah. It's very difficult.
So, end of league. Last week of the league, I reckon, will be vindicated. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Noogie and I don't get a point for that. I guess Lance gets his point
I gave
for
Lance a point.
being a wet blanket. Wet blanket
What?
point to Lance.
What?
No fun point to Lance.
I'm just cozying up to my 2 divines right now.
And then we had a final one, which I'm given that we're at 3-hour mark or something. I don't even know if I want to bring it up, but because yesterday we were supposed to be planning the show, these guys ended up having their own hour-long podcast talking about Warrior. Oh my god! Okay, so this is our last one. We're gonna try and be very brief about it. Boys, promise, please. Okay. The prediction was, is Warrior buffed or nerfed? Because at the time, everyone was like, Warrior's been nerfed on the passive tree. And I was like, I played it, felt really good. So that was the thing, we made predictions on that.
Right,
and there was a side bet of,
the damage.
is it good? This is the problematic part of this conversation. Alright, firstly, what were your predictions? I said Warrior is buffed. But I also said it's not good, because it can never be good. That's kind of like a player perspective. You can't ever make the slow mace melee character good by many people's definitions, just by its very nature. So that was my prediction. We'll get the others and then we'll have to justify our predictions. Noogie, what was your prediction?
My prediction was good and good. Like, yes.
He was double yes.
Yeah, double yes. I'm
Big
a big
yes,
believer.
okay. And Lance, you said, no, I'm not a believer. And I think you did a double no.
I was thinking this change will be a net downgrade for warrior life-based power.
Okay. Do you still think do you think you were right? Do you think that warrior was a net buff or nerf now looking at it with the hindsight of 2 weeks and everything?
Okay. I am going to say, if we do not include the power we got from crafting, I think the warrior is worse, because a lot of the elemental damage working is the fact you can actually reliably craft good gear pieces, where the suffix starvation is you can actually make it happen with the crafting you have. And I also got scammed a little bit because they did kind of double the armor applies to Ellie mod pretty much everywhere. Like the affix tiers we saw. They were like 20% and they're 40% in game.
But why do you think I predicted it would be good? Because I expected that.
You got lucky.
No, I actually pay attention. Did you notice what they did? No, did you notice what they did with all the soul cores in the patch notes?
With all the soul cores?
They doubled all the soul core values. What does that lead you to believe? They're reconsidering the value of the armor like applied to Ellie. They doubled them there. I predicted that they were gonna double them everywhere on the tree. They did, literally.
Well, you were right on that. I still would say I think
I feel like
the end game warrior last league was Smith Katava, which got to go 90 all res. I still think that is a better kit than armor is currently, because it works on both small hits and big hits. The armor currently does not work on big hits. I am not convinced it does.
So this whole defending our position on our prediction thing is very fun, but I have to explain how it works. So there is, I think, no objectively correct kind of assessment of what even good or buffed means, okay? So, because there's so many different qualifiers or angles you can look at this from. Like, so let's look into this from like the peak, like the pinnacle, like, you know, the best case, most power-focused perspective. I predicted buffed, but not considered good, and that's because the way that I consider good or buffed is, are people playing it and enjoying it more? Like, I think yes. My I am seeing a huge uptick in the warrior love, the warrior enjoyment, and the performance of warrior in the campaign and endgame. And I think, like, very much from that perspective, warrior is buffed. And I'm even willing to say I might have been wrong. I said it would not be good. I say, like, oh man, it's getting close. Maybe as close as it can be in terms of like this slow mace warrior stuff. So that's mine. Whereas Nugi's got his own separate kind of evaluation going on here. So say why you've earned your divine, Nugi.
Right. So let's first break down how much it actually mitigates, because I think this is where a lot of the confusion comes on. Like Kryptonaut, this whole thing about like, do you all remember the armor thing? The thing is, the numbers he used were just bad for actual PoE2. So the perception is that you get hit for a lot more than you actually do. So the max Ellie hit from one of the largest Ellie abilities that is not Corridor is 14,000. It comes from what's the
I'm
it's
too
not
squishy
temple,
right now.
The things that unlock Arbiter. What are those called? You get 3 of them. So you go into the map. What's the maps called? Citadels.
Fragment bosses, the citadels.
Citadels, right. So there's the Doriani laser boss does a big laser beam, does 14,000 damage. It's pretty much the highest hit. You can get the equivalent through armor at like, I think 100,000 LE. You get to the equivalent of 87.5% res if you compare it to max res through armor. So you're getting very close. So at the highest hit, yes, not as much. But armor can go higher. But like it's high enough to, before you go like absolutely crazy on damage modifiers, that it is as strong as max res, and it completely trivializes everything else, which is a big deal. Like it's better than blocking, because there's also nodes on the tree that that give you recovery. So you take damage, the more you mitigate, the more you heal, and you can take an infinite amount of damage through that node as long as the armor doesn't, like, as long as the hits are like mitigated 90%. It's very good.
There's an interesting thing in PoE2 with this, like following on from what you're saying, Nugi, is that so map mods are like, for added elemental damage, are like 30% or 40% or whatever, compared to like the 140% they were in Path of Exile 1. And the way that this armor seems to work, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but effectively, like, the physical portion of the hit and the elemental portion of the hit are being mathed separately against your armor, right? They're not being added together. So it's not 14k damage versus your armor. It's 10k damage plus 4k elemental, and they're both being done separately. So that 4k against your armor effectiveness of 50-60% or whatever is, like, quite good. Like, it's a pretty small hit to be mitigating, so thus your mitigation's really high since it's using that armor formula. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Like, it's not like it looks at the physical portion of the hit.
What's the 10 and 4? Like,
sorry?
What's
well,
the 10
okay, so
and
let's
4?
say a monster hits you for like 10k physical.
Oh, right,
and then the map
right.
modifier has like 40% added fire damage. So you've got like your 10k physical and your 4k fire, right? Like they're separate equations against that mitigation. So they're not being added together. And the fact that it's kind of low in terms of the amount of added elemental damage there, unless you got like 3 mods stacked or something. I actually wonder.
And it allows you. So here's the thing: it actually makes map mods much nicer. So there's a node that gives you 100%. There's a mod that gives you 100% armor against crits. So you double armor every time you crit. So the crit mod is actually a lot easier to deal with on an armor build, because you don't take that on any other build. You would be starting to take a lot more damage on armor. It's like, it's not a very significant increase.
Okay, the crit mod is.
The crit mod
there's
is
an essence for
scary.
50% crit reduction, and there's crit reduction on the, like, it's not that hard to deal with for most builds.
No, but what I'm saying here is that it adds up, right? So the crit already helps, right? You start mitigating. So, but the thing is, even if you mitigate it, you double. Anytime monsters crit you and they hit hard, if you've mitigated it all the way down to 100, now you're healing for even more, right? Your armor is even stronger in that case. So that's just, you want them to crit you now. Okay, even better. Minus max is less affected because resist does not equate into the armor at all. So armor is just forever strong, no matter how much minus max. It's really good against hybrid styles of damage. It's
Silver
just
lining.
there's a lot of stuff that is not being appreciated in this whole equation. And if you haven't played it, I'm just saying, you will be surprised how much you can just relax when you play an armor build.
I was surprised, but Noogie, you never answered the question though. Why is your double yes right?
Okay, I would say my...
Bring it all to a close.
I would say that my first one is correct, that it is buffed. Because there's also the block... Yeah, I would say on... Yeah, with everything, I would say it's buffed. Like that specific playstyle...
From the perspective of, like, just... So how do you define, like, how do you... What is the perspective you're looking at it from, do you think?
Like, an armor mace-wielding warrior is now better.
Yeah, but like from whose perspective is it being buffed? What use case? What, like, against what content? Against, like, say I'm looking at it from like, are people playing it and enjoying it more now? is it a better playstyle?
Well, it's a better playstyle
overall.
Because you actually feel like the things you're putting together matter. That's a huge buff. But I also think in terms of power and the ability to play endgame maps without being rolled over is better now. Active block is really strong. This passive block is really strong. Like, all the things that killed Warrior before were a lot of the time just all the ground effects, because you have no ability to deal with them, especially Ellie. Those are trivialized now.
Ground effects that aren't dots.
Yes, I mean, dots are still scary, but they were scary before.
They weren't scary for 90 res.
Well, it's physical damage now. That's the thing that's scary. The only thing that scares me is the Shade Walk in maps. Nothing else scares me.
So do you think at the top end, Lance, that Warrior is probably a bit overall weaker though? To defend your no?
I would say I would probably give it to Lance here on the. I would even concede. Okay, is it good in the context of, okay, maybe if by what he meant is if we're setting the good in terms of meta power, right, and the context is the power of builds, okay, then okay, no, it's not up there.
It's. I just have to say, it's so freaking funny that Warrior, like, to answer a simple question like this is like is so nuanced and debatable. It's just like everyone else is like, it's just like, oh yeah, it's way stronger, but like it's just he's a complicated fella. The old Warrior, pretty hard to say. You can't just say he's buffed or not. There has to be a lot of qualification here. Did we earn our divines? I actually feel like this is a case where we might have all earned the divines. I feel like maybe you were a little bit sitting the fence between power versus kind of like
I think we bet on different things when we talked about this. Like, well, that was clear when we. For context, Chad doesn't know, but me and Noogie argued about this for like 40 minutes or something last night.
I couldn't stop him. I was physically having to try and pull them off each other. I just left.
It almost came to throwing hands. It was close. I think a large amount of it was... I came at it from the perspective of overall power in terms of the meta, and Noogie's talking about in terms of game balance. Is it a good class? Like, you play it in the game, are you going to have fun? Does it do well? And I think I would agree with Noogie in the context of gameplay, just playing the class, not having any other outside influence by looking at what other classes can do. It can meet that mark. But
I will even
meta,
say,
I'm not convinced.
No, I will even say, like, your ability to generate currency in a warrior is perfectly fine. If you look at if we take XP for a metric, there's plenty of warriors at the very top of the XP range on softcore. I think that's because, and the reason why XP is good is because the literal thing you do with XP is you kill monsters without dying. If there's multiple warriors especially on PoE in India, where it's like everyone's about deadeye is like triple tiers ahead of everything else, how come there's any even close on warrior, right? That shouldn't be the case. So you have Titan, and there's a lot of Titans, and they have really good AoE. They can propagate, and you don't need that much. Like the level at which you reach trivializing content in PoE 2 is fairly low. Like the bar is not that high. It's not like we need to deal with Valdo maps and stuff like that right now. It's so like you can do all content, all tiers. You can do on softcore. I can guarantee you, if I was on softcore, I would be running the 8 mod maps right now.
Is that a div for each of us, Moogie? Is that a div for each of us, mate?
Yes, I gave everyone.
What do you reckon? Yeah, double-digit divs. Woo woo. Double-digit, I mean 2. Not quite double-digit. Well, I think at the risk of another 40-minute warrior discussion, I'm glad that we like have established the difference in perspectives. It does seem like, if nothing else, Armor and where that feels and is right now is probably closer to where they want things to be. That's probably like what matches PoE 2 much better. If we escape the power discussions of what's best. Anyway,
there's a huge. I mean, I think. Did all of us say game balance was one of our issues, or was that just me and Doogie?
I mean, like it's objectively all over the place, right? Like, but I also my perspective on it is I really don't expect almost any level of game balance right now. Just that there is a bare minimum that they have to do for practicality. But you know, as we get closer to launch, we'll see how that changes. But anyway, fun podcast, fellas. We'll leave it there for now. Thanks everyone for watching. Well, we're gonna try and do a 2-hour podcast next time. Maybe.
What do we end up with?
I don't even know. It's over 3 hours, I'm sure.
No, 2 hours and 50. No, not
no. We're sub 3. We're sub 3. We didn't start
sub 3 this time.
Sub 3.
We improved sub 3
by 25 minutes.
Sub 2 next time.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, let's aim for 2.5 hours next time. Let's be a bit more realistic, maybe. Alrighty. Thank you all very much for watching. Thanks, Miggy. Thanks, Lance. I appreciate chatting PoE with some other bearded dads. See you later, guys.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Hi everyone, it's Rax. I'd like to start off this video with an apology, if I may. Usually on every PoE launch, Last Epoch launch, anything like that, I just have an avalanche of videos, right? And really, the amount of videos that I had for this PoE 2 launch was just so far below what I normally do. Everyone keeps coming to my stream, Rax, where are all the videos? What's happening? I don't have a good excuse for you guys. It's just I had so many things that I had to do simultaneously. I just didn't get out the content that I wanted to get out for you. So I apologize. It's not going to happen again. On all the future releases, I will be far more prepared, and I'll have you covered for sure. However, I do want to show you something that I found out or made, and I've leveled up through the campaign 5 times so far. On Monk, on Sorcerer, on Lich, on Warrior, and then again on a Witch, but this time it was Infernalist. And I found what I feel is the most comfortable, borderline the most powerful leveling build that you can play in this game. And the best part about it is the leveling build transitions into one of the most powerful endgame builds in the whole game. Like, it might not quite be as good as Lightning Arrow Deadeye right now, but it's unbelievable. So I want to show you how this works. The first thing I want to show you is a little clip. Now, what I'm playing here is this is hardcore SSF. Hardcore means I only have 1 life, so I can't die. SSF means I can't trade. This is the very beginning of the game, right? This is like the 10th zone in Act 1. It's the little boss right here. Let's see what happens. And no, I'm not wearing twink gear. Watch this. There's the boss. Okay. Boom! Oh my. Dead. Did you see that? Not twink gear. Hardcore SSF. How? What the hell was that? How did that happen? About to show you. About to show you how this build works. And I'm still alive in hardcore SSF. I'm level like 88. Just still cooking in T15 maps. My 4 ascendancy's done. Everything is good. So, 2 seconds about what is this build? How did I come up with the idea of it? Playing a bunch of different builds, and of course we hear about all the really powerful builds, the lightning arrow deadeyes. I'm trying to stay away from lightning arrow deadeye. I've already played that a lot. I don't want to play that. Everyone's playing it. I want to do something else. Goratha has his really powerful purple fireball build. People love that. Awesome. I haven't gotten to play it yet. I hope that I will be able to soon.
Have an order?
But one archetype that I kept hearing is just amazing is minions. And I said, okay, I'll make a minion build, because I had minion builds at the beginning of the league, or at the beginning of PoE 2 with SRS, and people love that build. You do the firewalls and the SRS things come out and they murder. But then Grinding Gear Games crucified it and nerfed it. So it's like, ooh, early game minions, that doesn't sound so good. But then they got a buff this time, and I'm like, all right, maybe we try it. And I know I'm hearing how great the Spectres are in the end game. Let's try a leveling build. But then I was sitting there and I was like, well, I just leveled Hardcore SSF as a Lich with Essence Drain Contagion, which I made that video last time. And that build murdered for me last league, and it still murders for me this league. One of its only weaknesses is it isn't the best bosser until you get really good gear. So I was sitting there and I was like, I have an idea that usually never works in ARPGs. What if I played both at the same time? What if I just loaded up on my minions and then I played Essence Drain Contagion? Like, usually that never works. Usually you pick one thing and you go all in on it, and that's how you dominate. But when I mix the two, for me personally, out of any leveling build I've made for you in like any league, I think this one is probably pound for pound the most powerful across the board. So with that intro in there, let me explain to you what's going on and why we were able to delete that guy in 2 seconds. So the first gem you're going to cut is Contagion. Contagion, you put it on a monster, and then you kill him, and it spreads, and it kills everything. It does chaos damage. On Contagion, the main thing you want is Unleash. Unleash will let you Contagion multiple enemies. I think it's by far the best first support. And then you can add Magnified Area, not really needed. You just really need Unleash, and that's about it.
I'll fill that in
Essence Drain combines amazingly with Contagion. It's again like something that you can throw. It's like the Chaos Dot, and you want to put Chain on it so it ricochets. By the way, the supports now have different tiers, like 1, 2, and 3. I'll just show you the highest one that you want. If it says 2 and you can't cut 2, but you can cut 1, just cut 1. So that's how we'll do that, so it's not confusing. But in general, when you play Essence Drain Contagion, you put Contagion on something, and then you just throw some Essence Drains, which chain around, and then they're all double poisoned, and then the poison spreads, and it just clears the whole map. So you just keep walking all the time. Drag the monsters with you. Poison, 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 poison. It spreads everywhere. The whole map dies. It's extremely strong. Then you can add something like Swift Affliction to Essence Drain, make it do a little bit more damage, and then Controlled Destruction later. We're playing Essence Drain Contagion. It's really strong. Now we get to the minion part. You get Unearth right away. Unearth is amazing. I would never take this off my bar. Even in the end game, when you're doing Gazi's super end game Spectre build, I still wouldn't take it off my bar. I still wouldn't take it off my bar even in softcore. The only situation where I would take this off my bar is if I had so many skills that I ran out of options. But right now, this spell is giving me 22 extra minions. Pretty much at all times, except for on bosses sometimes. 22 extra minions? That's something that you cannot pass up. What happens? So you put Contagion on a monster, it spreads, they die. You put Essence Drain on the monster, it spreads, they die, right? If you unearth the corpses and they rise from the dead and they were poisoned, when you res the minions are poisoned. Then they run forward and bite everything and poison them again. Not to mention that it gives you a massive army that's just tanking for you. So you just poison everything, then you raise them from the dead, and you just keep on walking. All the little trash in the whole game just gets farmed by that alone. The supports here don't matter really at all. Give it maim, give it blind. Not important. We're just here to res the minions and have them tank for us and move the poison forward. Now, on your weapon, you will get a rattling scepter, hopefully, and it will grant you the skill Skeletal Warriors. You'll get 2 warriors by default. That's what we're going to use, just 2 skeletons. We're going to need the skeletons later. In the beginning, they're just there to tank for you and do a little bit of damage, but later on, they're important. We need them. So you really would prefer it to be a rattling scepter. And these guys don't do very good damage. We're just trying to keep them alive. So this just keeps them alive, and this keeps them alive. You can throw some damaging stuff on them early game if you want. They don't do that much damage. The snipers are the reason why that boss died instantly. So when you have the snipers, this is what you're going to be spending your spirit on. When you get like the spirit, normally you cut a gem and you reserve your spirit. Nope, you spend your spirit on the snipers. You get more and more snipers. And the snipers themselves, they do pretty good damage. They're all right. It's nothing crazy, but, you know, they're chipping down the enemies. But the snipers give you an ability that you need to put on your bar. It's called, like, gas bomb or gas arrow or something. What you want to do is you want to cast that on the bosses or on the elites. Puts a gas arrow under them, and as you probably already guessed, you can detonate it. What you could do is you could put firewall on your bar or something to detonate it yourself, but we ain't got no time for that. We don't want a bunch of buttons. We already are doing Essence Drain, Contagion, Resing the Dead. We're already pressing the bomb. That's already a lot of buttons. I don't want more buttons. So what do? I get Fire Attunement. The supporting attacks gain damage as extra fire damage. And that, for me, was enough to make the enemies ignite, and then they move, and then they blow up the gas cloud,
Good fucking idea.
and they die. Go back here and check this one more time. Fun, because, I mean, it just gets sweeter every time. The gas cloud is down. A boom! See the ignite, half up, gone.
That's a good fucking
Sayonara. It's the perfect combination here.
I didn't think of that.
Massive, massive AoE. These two things are just an army of stuff just standing in your way so nothing can hit you. And then the sniper has essentially a delete boss button. And you don't even have to detonate it if it has fire attunement. Now, some monsters might have a lot of fire res. Sometimes it's like hard to get the ignite going. In that situation, maybe you just cut a firewall just in case it's not getting ignited, and then you throw one firewall in those situations. But I never did that. I never used firewall one time. Murdering everything. That's all I do in the first 3 acts. Just this. Crushes everything. When you get to Act 3, Gazi and the whole minion community have looked at all the specters, which is essentially monsters that you kill, you can raise them as your minions. When you get to Act 3, there is a very, very powerful monster called a Val... What's it called? Did I write it down here? Val Overlord? Valguard. And it's an Utzal. It's like right before the Viper. And these Valguards throw these like poison bombs. And they're real, real strong. You can use these through the rest of the campaign. So at this point, I drop all of the snipers. I take all my spirit out of the snipers. I cut a bind specter gem, which gives you the skill raise specter. I go to Utzal. I look around for the guys that are throwing the bombs. I kill them. And then I press raise specter and I raise them. And then I put my spirit back in. Boop, 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 boop. And now I've got the bomb boys. And there we are. So for them, I give them Feeding Frenzy for more damage, multi-shot so they throw more bombs, and then rapid attacks so they attack faster. By the way, did I cover for snipers, just put in Feeding Frenzy and rapid attacks just for more damage. Okay, we're just making these guys do more damage. You might want to see what does that look like? Well, I literally just got them here, and then I walked up to the Viper, and everyone always tells me like Viper is like their most dreaded boss, right? The Viper just kills them over and over and over. Okay. See how the Viper does against the minions. See what happens here. All right, so they're throwing the bombs. The visibility is not great with these Val guys, but later on when you swap them out, the visibility will get better, but they put a lot of fire down. The Viper is already a third dead. Oh, she's stunned. Okay. Oh, yep. There we go. Half health. Okay. Going down, going down. What's it been, like 10 seconds? Okay. She's going down.
Minions are really good against
God,
bosses.
she's doing her stupid poison spear thing. Okay. Well, I dodged them, and then I walked over and killed her. You get the idea, right? So that was, what, maybe 15 seconds, and already 60% of her health is gone? I mean, remember something. I'm playing hardcore SSF. So I don't have great gear. I can't trade. I don't have like twink uniques on or anything like that. I just have the crap that I picked up on the ground or the crappy hand-me-downs from the last time I did the run. But it's nothing amazing. And I did like 60% of her health in like 15 seconds. You know what I mean? So it's going to work for you for sure. And their AoE is so good. There's so many of them throwing the multi-shot bombs. You just walk. And then your AoE is even further emphasized with the Essence Drain Contagion. It's so easy. It's ridiculous. I love this build. You've got to try it. Pain Offering makes your minions stronger. It requires a skeleton to use it. You just press this on bosses. This is why we need the skeletal warriors. This is why we need them to not be dying. Because we're going to sacrifice them by skewering them on a stick. Meat Shield and Expanse, just these supports don't really matter. The Pain Offering thing dies pretty easily. It's kind of weak, but you just put it down, skewer a skeleton, then your Val guards are going to hit way out harder. You murder. For your Ascendancy, your first point, you get a Hellhound. Now, this Hellhound is awesome. He's going to help you ignite. He's going to tank for you. He doesn't really do that much damage. His damage is kind of meh. So that's why you see the supports that I'm going to use are just going to mostly be just to help us. Loyalty, 10% of the damage that you take is going to take from your Hellhound instead. We're just going to keep him alive, and Hulking. Hulking usually has, I think, an increased spirit cost, but it makes them gigantic, which makes them a lot more powerful and tankier. But the Hellhound doesn't cost any spirit. So you just throw gigantic on it. As far as I can tell, there's no penalty for it. So, of course, we use Hulking here. Now, this skill is totally optional. You might be looking at this and be like, Rax, are you showing me like a 9-skill build? I'm not playing this. You don't have to use this. If you want to kill bosses even more instantly, you can. So Dark Effigy is used in Essence Drain Contagion as the single target thing. When there's chaos damages over time, it's a little totem that shoots more projectiles at it that kills it. So when you go to a boss, the snipers will be gone at the end. You'll have your specters throwing the bombs. And if you put up your Essence Drain and your Contagion and then drop the Dark Effigies, it should have overabundance. You can drop 2 of them. And then Poison will put up another dot, so they attack faster. If you do that full rotation, Essence Drain, Contagion, put down the Pain Offering so they hit harder, and then drop 2 Dark Effigies, you got 2 more totems, you just go, gone. Not needed, but if you really want to, if you really can't kill the bosses, throw this on as well. They're dead. Those are the skills. This video is taking too long. Let's go a little bit faster. What I think I'm going to do, I really want your feedback on this, but I have an idea. For planners, I'm only going to show you the bare necessities of what's important. For example, look at this wand. It just says +4 to chaos spell skills. I just want to show you that this is the best thing that you can get. Like, you're looking for levels of chaos spells. Do you prefer this kind of minimalistic planner, or do you want me to go through, like, first of all, keep in mind, this is a leveling build. In an endgame build, of course I would show you every item and every single stat. But when you're playing a leveling build, you never have jack shit. So I think it might be smart just to show you, what are you really looking for? You want a wand with plus chaos spell skills, or plus spell skills, all spell skills. Let me know if you hate it. I'll do it the other way. That's what you want. Then in your offhand, you want a Rattling Scepter preferred. If you can't get Rattling, then you can get some other scepter that has a ton of minion skills on it and a lot of awesome stats for minions. But the Rattling Scepter gives you the Skeletal Warriors, which let you use your Pain Offering. So that's something to consider. It really helps to get a Rattling Scepter. Your body armor is important. You want Mega Energy Shield on your body armor. This is a common mistake. When you're playing an Energy Shield build, we're playing Energy Shield. Like, I've seen people take like 30 life and 20 resistance body armor that only has like 50 Energy Shield on it over a body armor that has 300 Energy Shield but garbage stats. No, we want Energy Shield, especially on the body armor. And if you can get it, you'd want Spirit, because Spirit gives you more snipers, and then it gives you more specters later on. When you're playing an Energy Shield build, we're playing Energy Shield. So make sure your body armor has chonky Energy Shield at all costs, and you'll be essentially immortal just with that. The hat can roll plus minion skills. Look for it. The amulet can roll plus minion skills. I think it can also roll plus all spell skills. That would be good. Maybe it can roll plus chaos spell skills. That would be good. And spirit is very good. Gives you more minions. On the boots, you always want movement speed. And on your rings is a good source of chaos res. Amethyst rings are really good. Every other thing, just the same thing. Try to get energy shield, life, resistances, whatever. Okay? Now, let's look at the passive tree. And boy, do I love this passive tree. And you want to know why I love this passive tree? Almost the entire thing is defense. It's all defense. I go back here. So what am I doing here? I walk up and I actually take both of these paths early on. This is something that I'm noticing. Like, I've leveled up in PoE 2 a lot. I've already cleared the campaign. This league started, what, 10 days ago? Less than 10 days ago? I've already cleared it 5 times. Monk, Sorcerer, Lich, Warrior, and Infernalist. The last 3 were Hardcore SSF. So I cleared it 3 times in Hardcore. And one thing that I'm noticing about leveling up with the passive tree is usually at the start, these nodes are pretty insane. Like, energy shield recharge. That's not what's noticed. The overlay's not working. This is, I think, minion damage. It's showing me something over here.
At least there's
okay,
one.
It's not letting me mouse over it. That's okay. I pretty much memorized it anyway. These nodes, I think, are all minion damage. These nodes are all chaos damage. These 2 nodes, this one is like mega energy shield. These ones right here are mega energy shield. Like, there's so many great nodes at the beginning of the tree that in a lot of these builds, I'm starting to take all of them. And then as I bank up a lot of points, then I respec and I go like further out and branch out. But after I take these damages, you're going to notice I just start loading up on defense. This is defense. This is defense. This is defense. This is offense. This is minions do damage when you attack. I don't know why the tooltips aren't working. I guess they're just trying to test me. This is minions attack when you do damage. I think this is something like you gain spell damage when a minion dies. And then we're going over here, and then we're going to try to keep the minions alive. This is minion health. And this is minion physical damage from minions breaks armor. And then I'm starting to, when you get a little bit further on, when you start to get to like the Val Guards, you kind of want to respec out of the chaos damage that you've taken here. It's really good early game, but these nodes, the Essence Drain Contagion, is not doing most of the damage by the time that you get the Val Guards, so we're going to start to go more heavily into minions. So we're going to help the minions stay alive and damage, and then we're going to go up here. And another thing that I did, another thing you can do if you want to be really safe, is I took these energy shield nodes right here while I was right here. But we're going to walk on up here and get this. And this is going to help you with your spirit. And there's another spirit node here. It's going to help you get more minions up. And I think that's all the further that I got for the campaign. But this entire wheel, and this entire thing, and this entire thing, and this is almost all defense. And if you want to pick up these 3 nodes, it's a great idea as well. But remember, the defense that we're picking up is magnifying energy shield. So, one more time, just for completeness, make sure that you get energy shield on your stuff. If you get that, you should be almost unkillable. And remember, you have a whole army in front of you. The unearthed guys, the skellies, the snipers, the bomb guys. They gotta go through quite a bit to even hit you once. With that energy shield and the energy shield recharge, just run around like a chicken with your head cut off. I don't have any deaths. I'm level like 88 in hardcore SSF. I don't know what level I'm. 80, high 80s, 4 labs done, doing T15 maps. I have 12,000 energy shield right now, and my gear sucks. Hardcore SSF, I can't get anything good. But we're gonna get higher, maybe like 13, 14K. They gotta really kill me to kill me. So we go down here, we take the Hellhound first. Then, man, it's so annoying that it's not letting me show you what these are. This is the Hellhound. This is, a lot of the elemental damage is converted to fire. So you need to make sure your fire res is real good. And physical damage is converted to chaos. This is, it reserves 25% of your life in order to give you a ton of spirit. This is critical. The extra spirit lets you get more minions. Reserving 25% of our life, not great to lose that. But remember, our defense is energy shield. Can't say it enough times. Energy shield. So it's fine. And then later on, when you do the 4th lab, you'll take this node, which reserves another 25% of your life and gives you a ton more energy shield. That's an amazing trade. You get way more effective HP from that. Yeah, so you might be wondering, okay, so this is like a leveling build to get through the campaign. How does it do after the campaign? Good. You could like start mapping with this. However, at the very end of the campaign, there are 2 minions that you can change these specters for. They're a lot more powerful than the Val Guards. You can either get, I keep calling them Revenants, but that's not their name. It's the, hopefully I'll think of it. Not the Revenants, but the Ants. The Ants are insane. People usually say, don't switch to Ants until you have 3 of them. And I think they each cost 99 spirit before all the spirit nodes that you took up there. So you got to have a pretty good amount of spirit on your amulet and on your body armor before you're going to be able to fit in 3. And there's an endgame pair of boots that helps that reservation, but it's kind of rare, so can't really count on that early game. If you get your 3rd lab done, this helps tremendously as well. The Zealots. Thank God, I remember. The other ones are called the Zealots. So a lot of people, I haven't tried the Zealots yet because I actually got lucky enough in hardcore SSF. By the time I got to the Ants, I had exactly enough on the dot to summon 3 Ants. So that was amazing. But if you can't use the Ants, then the Zealots, and I think it's in the 3rd interlude in after Act 4, so it's at the very end of the campaign, it's very strong. Gazi has an endgame build already, and his character is insane. I looked at his guy, and his guy's like, his guy's insane. I'm never going to be able to get that strong, because I can't trade. But he has a beautiful guide if you want to check it out. And yeah, if you guys want me to make an endgame guide, if you play this and you love it, and you're getting through the campaign, and you want to know how I'm playing the Ants in hardcore SSF, I'd be happy to make the video. I didn't look at Gazi's build. I didn't look at anybody's build, but I talked to Gazi after I played it for like 3 days, and I compared builds with a planner that he showed me, and I'm telling you, the overlap between what I was doing and what Gazi had was like 95%. And I was actually kind of surprised because I felt like all I did was build defense, and he's playing softcore, but that's actually what he did too. He just went full defense. I was like, why did you go full defense? He goes, bro, I have 8 ants, and my ants are like level 31. Bro, he's got 8 ants, and they're level 31. I still, in T15 maps, I only have 3 ants. Fear sucks. And my ants are like level 23. So he's got 8 levels on me, and he has 5 more ants than me. So I can understand why he doesn't need any. I'm already in T15 maps. Imagine having 8 ants and level 31. That's so dumb. That's so much damage. It's actually just kind of funny. Anyway, the video's too long. Let's end it here. Did this build guide help you? Are you happy to be getting these build guides again? Let me know on the planner if you, for leveling builds only, do you like this minimalist approach that I'm just showing you? This is what you're looking for. Everything else should be pretty obvious to you, right? Life, energy shield, resistances. Just try not to get murdered kind of deal. Yeah. Anyway, let me know, guys, and try this. If you're playing something, you're bored, you're like, God, I got to do something else. This, trust me. I played 5 builds. I know most of you trust me, but I'm going to say it anyway. Trust me. You need this build in your life. And if you're in dire need of endgame content, look at Gazzy's guide. If all of you sound off and say, no, Rax, I want your endgame guide. Okay, I'll show you what I'm doing. Have a great day, guys. Borderlands 4 comes out in like 12 hours. I'm going to play it with DM Gazzy, speaking of Gazzy, and Lily. If you guys would like me to make a montage or a review on that, let me know. I've never played a Borderlands game before, but I played a lot of shooters. I actually went to a lot of Halo tournaments when I was young, so hopefully I'll be able to shoot the monsters. We'll see. I'm a 39-year-old piece of shit. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, guys.
Alrighty, Borderlands 4 is just about here. I got a review copy of the game and have been playing over the course of the past week. Got about 30 hours or so in now, and well, let's talk about it. All right, so what is Borderlands 4? I mean, it probably needs no introduction. This is the next installment in the Borderlands franchise. Now, as someone who played a lot of the first game and equally enjoyed the second game, but for whatever reason, and I couldn't really place my finger on it, like I couldn't give you a good explanation as to why, but Borderlands 3 just didn't hook me. I remember playing it for like a couple of hours and then moving on to another thing. Now, that could have been because I didn't really enjoy the game, or it could have just been that there was something else at the time that I really wanted to play. So coming into Borderlands 4, I was like, you know, I don't expect a lot, but the early trailers that I saw were looking pretty good, and I liked the look of the gameplay. And my God, am I so happy that I played it, because it's got some issues. Like, there are some big issues that may very well drag down the score pretty hard when this comes out and gets in the public's hand. Playing the game has been a lot of fun. This is more than I expected, and I have genuinely enjoyed it, barring a few glaring issues, which we'll get into. Okay, so it all starts out, you pick a Vault Hunter. There are 4 available. I went with Vex, who is this like siren lady of the void. She's basically like a witch or something in the Borderlands universe, as far as I'm aware. You run through a tutorial where you do a little bit of an escape with the help of an accomplice. In the process, learning the basics of course, movement and combat, some of the game's initial systems. And then you get tossed out into the open world, waking up on a beach. Claptrap is there in need of your help, with some of his classic humor woven in between his request for your assistance. And then off you go. And it's really from here on out that you are now in a full open world Borderlands game. And I'm not sure why, but I wasn't under the impression that this was a full-on open world game, but it 100% is. This is Borderlands open world game. It's arrived, and it's pretty massive. In fact, most review builds, they'll come with like an info sheet that gives some basic details about the game. And as I was going through that, it said that it should take you like roughly 4 hours on average to reach the first major boss fight in the main story quest. I didn't get there until about 12 hours in, so just 3x the average time according to them. And that's because there was like so much going on in the open world, all of these different side quests, points of interest to explore, collectibles, events that popped up, and I just like wasn't wasn't focused on beelining the main story quest. So yeah, it took me 12 hours to get to the first major boss fight, and that was only exploring like a third of the first big zone in the game. So this is a big open world game as far as I can tell. It's also one big fully seamless space. Now there are some borders along the edges, and there'll be like certain areas like mountain peaks in the middle of the zones that you actually can't climb up to physically. But I would say a majority of the play space, like at least 90% of the surface area of these open zones, is fully 100% explorable. There are 0 loading screens as you move about. In fact, I think I've seen a total of 1 loading screen in the 30 hours that I've played of this game so far, and that was in loading into like what was essentially a big dungeon area at the end of the first big chain in the main story quest line. But other than that, all of the 30, besides that 1 loading screen area, the 30 other hours that I've played, or the rest of that, let's say 29 other hours that I've played, has been just like exploring the open world, doing all this open world stuff without loading screens. Again, I didn't realize that, but yes, this is a full open world game. That's what this is. So you're gonna go around the zones, and it's gonna have a lot of the open world stuff that you expect. You got points of interest, you got various events and encounters, there are collectibles, main story quest line, of course, and then tons of side quests and even bounties, a bounty system in the game. So let's go through a bit of those things here. First, with the points of interest, these are all over the place, and pretty much all of them will have some sort of an objective to unlock that gives you collectibles or currency towards progression. So essentially, as you move through the world, it's going to lift the fog of war on your map, and then on the edges, as you get somewhat close, you'll start to see points of interest popping up as question marks, and then as you get closer and actually arrive at those areas, they will then be revealed as to exactly what they are. Many different types of enemy bases, camps, and strongholds, all very strongly themed to like whatever the area is. There are also dungeon-like areas in the game. These are these abandoned mines that typically require you to do some certain thing before you can gain access to them. Like there's some that are covered by a special shield that requires this like locust bomb, and you have to find a locust bomb in the nearby area, bring it over, toss it on the shield, and that's the only thing that can lift the shield. You can't otherwise shoot it with your regular weapons and void elementals or grenades or whatever. You have to find a special thing, opens access to the mine, and then you go into the mine, and yeah, they're basically like dungeons. You go through various rooms with difficult bosses, elites, badasses, as I guess they're called in this game, and then usually there'll be some boss encounter at the very end. On top of that, there are of course vaults. We do play as vault hunters after all. That's like the main theme behind all of the Borderlands games, and in this game you'll go around collecting fragments in certain areas. They'll be hidden in spots in the environment, typically at a point of interest, and you get enough and you can eventually use those to enter one of the vaults, which you also have to find. There's NPC towns and villages, some of these with some side quest giving NPCs, others tied to the main story quest line. They're like central hubs that have a whole bunch of different things, like a respec bench, various vending machines, storage container and or bank, and then a special gold chest, which I still haven't figured out how you open. I don't know if that was the thing where you need those special keys from Pitchford tweets out or whatever the hell that stuff is. And then there are these safe houses, which are more or less your main source of fast travel location. A few of these scattered among every zone. These will also have vending machines to sell the items that you've collected, as well as where most of the bounty boards are located. And every single safe house that I've found has had a bounty board with bounties in the nearby area. You know, go here, kill a boss, collect an item, and bring it back. The open world is also full of tons of collectibles, various things here, and most of them will give you a currency towards the game's STU system, which is how you unlock more capacity for things. So you'll have to like find a deadbolt or a vault symbol or complete an event in an area. It's going to give you some currency to unlock things in the STU system, which we'll touch on when we get to progression here in a minute. And then also in the environment, there will just be various kinds of loot chests and caches that you will come across that pop out a bunch of guns and other items for you to collect. Boss encounters. So there's a couple of variations here. There are static boss encounters at certain set locations, typically some sort of a boss arena. Now, in most cases, either the main story quest or one of the various side quests will lead you to these encounters. And then after you complete it for the first time, you can actually rerun them. There's a marker nearby the boss's arena. These are referred to as Moxie's Big Encore. You go interact with that, and then it lets you fight the boss again. But on top of those static boss locations, the game also has these dynamic boss encounters all over the place. In fact, as far as I could tell, tell, they have a chance to appear at pretty much any major point of interest in the game. And what will happen is you'll be walking around and then all of a sudden you'll see this big sphere or this big dome that appears, again, near a point of interest with a boss inside. And these have been fairly difficult encounters, comparable to like the main story quest line end of a chain boss fights. Lots of health bars of the various types, because there's like armor, there's regular health, there's energy shield, and then there's like meat armor or whatever. And then they'll have different attacks and combos and supporting minions that they summon. And it's been my experience that these dynamic boss encounters have been like some of the best sources of like high yields of loot drops, just like lots of loot and lots of high rarity items coming from these encounters. And I just love, like, you'll just be walking around and you'll see these domes pop up and you're like, oh, there's a boss in there, I'll go fight it, I'll kill it, and I'll get a bunch of loot. It's been a nice addition beyond like the static boss locations. Really interesting. There's also some dynamic events, so periodically you will see like enemies fall from the sky, or you'll see a bunch of wildlife emerge from a cave system as you walk by. But every so often, as you're moving through the environment, what was a moment ago an empty play space can all of a sudden be flooded with enemies in an instant. And the game does do the monster closet system like they have done in prior Borderlands games, and if you don't know what I mean by that, is there are like set locations where monsters come out of. So this can be like the entrance to a cave, or the side of like a shipping container, or the back of a vehicle, and it's represented in this game typically by like a black box that you can just see and enemies just spawn out of periodically. In fact, I think I first like was introduced to the concept of a monster closet in Borderlands 1, and they've continued it all the way up here to Borderlands 4. So again, it's a full open world game, and it's broken up into several named zones that are then further divided into more distinctly themed areas. So you start out the game waking up on the beach on the edge of the far fields, and this is predominantly like a grassy plains region with some wooded areas mixed in and a few cliffs. The whole game is actually rather cliffy. There's a lot of mountainous terrain in all of the biomes, if you will. And then the main story quest line is going to take you from that starting area through it a bit, and then eventually into the other biomes. You're going to explore and eventually come into the snow-capped mountainous region, as well as a rocky desert. And then there's a few others beyond that, but I don't want to spoil all of the games for you. But yeah, the main story quest will take you through to some big major points of interest, because the game does have a variety of size of their POIs. And then there are some that are rather gargantuan that again tend to have a big boss encounter at the end. As mentioned, I am playing as Vex, who is the Void Siren. So the action skill that I've been using is the ability to summon this cat minion Trouble, who will attack enemies, and then I've got like a bunch of perks that enhance the pet, as well as also buffing me and the damage of my gun, as well as my defenses, my shields, my health regeneration, all of that. Now the other two options for Vex, that what you have for your action skills or your class abilities, there's Dead Ringer, where you can summon up these clones that do different things, or Incarnate, which will transform Vex, healing her, as well as adding a new damage dealing active ability to use for the buff's duration. Now you can have one action skill equipped at a time. So each of the Vault Hunters comes with 3 action skills. You can have one of them equipped, and you're going to use that periodically in between shooting and tossing out grenades. This is mostly a first-person shooter. You're spending a lot of time shooting and swapping between your 4 equipped weapons, whatever those are, and then you're throwing out your class ability in between. And then the classes also have like special passives to them. Like for example, Vex, she attunes herself to the element of whatever weapon she's using. So if I've got like an electric gun in my hand, it then changes the elemental damage of my ability. So of my pet, my cat minion will all of a sudden deal the electric damage. Or if I have a fire weapon, it'll shoot the fire damage. So every one of the classes has all that stuff. In fact, the 3 other Vault Hunters, which are an Exo Soldier, a Forge Knight, and a Gravator, honestly, I had a hard time picking because those 3 also seem really cool. I'm presuming that I'm going to be playing at least one of them as I continue to play the game. Like I'll probably max out the Siren Vex and then try another one, just because they all seem really cool with their own unique playstyle twist beyond just the shooting and tossing of grenades that you're doing, right? Now this is a looter shooter, so let's talk about the loot. You're gonna find all sorts of chests and containers in the environment. Majority of these will be like ammo refills or dropping currency, with the occasional loot chest, probably about like 1 or 2 per point of interest. Lots of the loot that you're going to be getting, like the actual item drops, will be coming from boss kills or difficult enemies, you know, like those elite variants. Tons of guns in the game. That's what Borderlands has always been about, because they've got so many different modifications and twists. It's not just like regular kinetic weapon. You don't just have like your basic SMG, your basic assault rifle. Those do exist, but they do a lot of twist and kind of funky variations of those things with different elementals and different types of attacks, kind of combining things in interesting ways. They have the whole elemental system, so you've got like the physical damage, the fire incinerator damage, the electric shock damage, the radiation damage, and there's like 3 or 4 others, frozen cryo damage, and it all plays into like this kind of rock, paper, scissors system where one damage type will be really good against a certain type of defenses and really weak against others. So for example, the electric damage, the shock damage, is really good against energy shields, but not so good against basic health and armor, whereas the radiation damage is really good against armor, but not so good against the other things. So especially when you're playing on the harder difficulties, which I'm playing on the hardest that's available initially in the first campaign playthrough, which is hard. You get to the point after the first few hours where you got to be paying attention to like what type of health bar does the enemy that I'm shooting at have, and many of them, as you keep progressing further, will have multiple. So they might start with an energy shield and then have armor and maybe 2 stacks of armor, and then you finally get to their health, or some various combination in between. So you got to pay attention to those and then counteract that with the elemental damage that you're doing, whether that's from your guns. Many guns will have multiple types, so maybe I have like an assault rifle that does physical damage, but then I can swap to an alternate fire mode that does fire damage. In fact, I've got an SMG that shoots physical and then turns into a flamethrower, or I've got a sniper rifle that shoots physical and then can turn into a radiation rocket launcher, like all sorts of different things. That's a big part of what Borderlands has always done, and they're continuing to do it in this game as well. And then there are also different manufacturers, and those tend to come with their own characteristics. Like there's a manufacturer that makes it so that whenever you reload the gun, it throws the gun out and it has it explode. Sometimes it explodes into multiple grenades. Beyond the guns, you'll also be finding and collecting rep kits, which is your healing. These can come with all sorts of special boosts. Like I've got a yellow rep kit right now that gives me the blood siphon ability. Whenever I kill an enemy, it converts any excess damage that I dealt into these healing orbs that then seek you out or your allies and heal you. Super good. And then you also have various types of grenades that have different functionalities and elemental types. You've got energy shields with different perks. You've got different enhancements which provide boost to your guns and weapon damage. And then there are also class mods that you eventually find. I started getting those at about 15 hours into the game, and these come with increased stats and passive boost for the game's 4 different classes. We got a few different progression systems for character. You've got leveling up